Hello chat, what's up? Welcome back to stream. Hey Enough. Good to see you again. How strong is the wedge streak up until this point? First as always, yes indeed. Hello Firefly, hello Aoi. Welcome back. Aoi, have you managed to find your wallet? I've noticed you're chatting in Discord. Or find any trace of it?
Add Astro.
Oh man, I am sorry to hear that. It was not lost, it turns out it was stolen. Yeah, that's a terrible thing that happened. We're all gonna find the one who stole your wallet and we're all gonna beat them up. Right chat? Right chat? For our way. And also, if you need to remake the IDs in your wallet, I hope the process will be as painless as possible. Now we have more we got sick. What about it? When am I helping with Abyss? When Abyss is about to reset. You would likely need to borrow a family member. But yeah, I understand it's painful. I could ascend this weapon. Yeah, they cancel your card. That's good. In your stolen wallet, right? Need 2 more stars. You can continue trying until the Abyss help comes. You can also post a screenshot of your characters in Discord. And perhaps you can receive some recommendations on which team to use. Until then. Okay, Columbina is done being farmed 12. I could level these up too. They can stay at level 6 for now. Unstar her. Alright, next on the list, I have to build so many characters for theater. It's not funny. On to that, let's go do a little bit brain dead farming with artifacts. Can I show off her brownies characters? Of course you can. Why so many level 1? Right?
Add Astro. Thank you for coming.
Am I farming for... I am farming for this artifact set. Which character do you want to show off, Aoi? This is supposed to be a Flint's team. 1, 2, 3, and the slot is going to be Sucrose.
I want to help.
Hey, look, that's the Yao Yao outfit. Durin, Inefa, Colombian, Skuk. Durin. Good subs. Nice amount of recharge. I would still recommend level the skill up to 9. It's gonna help you a lot with recharge. The skill refunds energy. This is a nice build. Enough. Hey, the new set. Alright, 22 crit subs. EM is nice. Attack percent is also nice, but you don't have that. That's okay. Crit rate is close to 1 to 2. This is a nice build. Weapon, you should ascend that to 90. Columbina. This should be HP. 15 crit subs with recharge. I would personally get a bit more recharge on her. It is an okay build. I would also get a grit red circlet on her. This weapon gives 88 crit damage and the passive gives extra 60 crit damage. That's a lot of crit damage from this. Skuk. Nice build. $18 crit subs for attack percent. I would also go for a grit red circlet. Varsa never, sure. Crit red. This weapon is 44 crit damage and 68 more crit damage from passive. Is this your usual Varsa build? I thought you have a plunge set for Varsa. This is an okay build. And once again, Grid Red Strike. You should just in general find more Grid Circlet in your account.
Defensive mode engaged. Annihilation mode. Wait, a moonlit night for all.
You load her with crit damage for her passive damage, and crit rate will help her actually crit so that you can do big damage.
The long sleep beckons.
Crit rate also helps with her passive damage. Versus Supremacy, I agree. I am farming on this account for Inefa and for Vaka. Reminding myself, that's good, that's fine. Alright, as soon as we're done with the farming here. Today it's gonna be mostly focusing about looking at the lore stuff of the game.
Observe.
So I do have a few videos in mind that I want to react to from a few content creators I respect regarding lore stuff in Genshin. And then later on I want to attempt to rewrite the Lantern Rite quest because that leaves a sour taste in my mouth. It has a lot to be desired. This is good enough. It's not good enough. Zitz07, welcome back to stream. Is Vodka a witch? He is.
Installation chamber deployed. Ultimatum protocol.
You can say he's a witch lover.
Close your eyes. Observe. You can fear the dark.
Crit dam attack. Hydro. Ian. Yeah, no. Oh, do I not claim these? Let's claim this as well. Will I be making TC again in the next patch? I will. For Vanka, I think there has already been a lot of people making sheet. So if you are in my Discord server, I do share a lot of sheets from other people into the Lex channel. The general consensus is Vanka is a 100k man in his best team.
You got this. Be gone, Shadow.
Go claw.
Next patch, when Vanka is released, we will also have Lex on
Divine light shield.
low hand and linear. And I can do extensive calculations again. TCG? No. TC as in theory crafting. Meaning calculating the damage on spreadsheet for characters. I've done that extensively for Columbina in the past. Yeah, that's good. Okay. I'm good with this account. Let's log into my main, farm some stuff, and then we're done. We can move on to lore stuff. We got Zubai even before one Edlua. Understandable. Have you seen this video? From a Giga Leviathan? It was so funny. When the guy pulls for Zubai and Edlua. DHCWSP. C6R5 Zubai. Here we go. Edlua! Zubai! Jean! Zubai! Oh, there's an Elua. Look at that. C1 Zubai, C1 Elua. C2 Zubai, C1 Elua. C3 Zubai, C1 Elua. C4 Zubai, C1 Edlua. Oh, C2 Edlua. Hello. What is this? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's C5 Zubai. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's C4 it lower. Crazy. Hey, look! Now we got C6 it lower. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. And now the it lower is gonna come. Don't you worry. That was a C6 it lower right there. Oh, C7 right there. C8 right there. C10 right there. Yeah. C12 right there. Oh my god, 4-star pooling experience. Oh my god. Wow. Hi, Widow. Crazy. Don't aim for a C6 4-star when you're pulling, chat. You will only have disappointment. Yeah, I don't need to build any character at all on this account. My theater is fine with this. Maybe I build this guy. It's a funny thing. Maybe I build this guy. You know what? I'll build this guy. At some point. What do I even farm these days? Not getting Zubai is making me rethink about my farming thing. What do I even farm for? I guess just continue farming artifact forever? Is there anything else I could be farming for? I guess because I did not get Zubai, finish a Skulk team when she comes back around again, when Escofield comes back around again. So I could be farming for the Skulk set. I see it, Widow. Give me a moment. You want to pull Eloa, but unfortunately your pity is too high. And just for collection purpose, yeah, it's nice. Especially when you already have most of the 4-star in the games. I understand that feeling. I wanted to pull for Yehoda just for collection purpose as well. And I was lucky to have her before any 5-star happens. I can absolutely be leveling up more characters for the theater just so it feels easier to do them.
Breathe. 3, 4, and
Sure, why not? He's not that good of a character outside of Zubai, and for Zubai he's kind of mid. What are the elements in the next theater again? Let me double check. First ever Geodipius! Hakush in theater. There's going to be a Cryo, Electro, and a Nemo one. I believe this one I have enough characters. I can raise, yeah, hold up it. There's going to be a Cryo, Hydro, and Geo. Alright, fine. Well, a Cryo character will be beneficial for both, right? There we go.
1, 2, breathe. 3, 4, and...
Your Zubai does less damage on field than Columbia does passively. Understandable. Look inside, it's a level 1 Zubai. Thingless.
Thank you for
It's level 80. Cool. I wonder if Never is tolerable against his boss. Mona C1.
It all adds up.
What are you gonna do with all that Mona? I guess damage is just always good. Should I be farming for this? Or should I be farming for Marichosi Hunter instead? I actually have no clue. Maybe I should be farming for Marichosi Hunter instead. For Skirk. Since I don't have a great weapon on her anyway. Yeah, this is only for Skirk. No one else uses set. Which makes it very inefficient to farm.
Can't hide the truth. No more lies.
You were not able to clear Fearless because of grabs, so you thought to make a funny video instead of clear. Ah, I'll check that in a moment. We're back to this domain indeed. Yeah, since I'm not getting Zubai and my network build is tolerable enough. So here we are. Next patch, there's going to be a Skirk boss too. And right. Next patch, I will need to use Varesa with Furina. And then I will need to use Skirk with some other cope options, I think. Well, I could use Skirk with Furina and I can use Alambina with Varesa, and that's okay. Yeah, that could be one way to do it. Anyhow. HP double crit with EM. It could be a Columbina artifact off piece. It's not that great though. Okay. Showcase my beautiful face. I would love to. If you want to see my beautiful face, go to OnlyFans. Never players are so cooked next stage. Yeah, I know. There's no boss that's good for Never. The cryo boss needs cryo, the duck needs electro, and the fungi is anti-dendro. It is what it is. Alright, we're done farming. It's chat UI. I forgot. Amran, welcome back. Alright, we are done farming, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do this. Just bringing back a few videos, and I know Weirdo shared a video in Discord of his clear. The by fate is sealed, chat. I do not like her enough to put her on my main account. So here she is. With Chiori. Chiori is a different case. I like her enough, but she's not strong enough. My alt account is for slops, chat. Harbinger of Dawn, let's go. My Harbinger of Dawn goalies. How many times did I log into account and didn't find any TTDS? I would say one in 7. 1 in 7. It's not that many because generally the people who ask for help are the ones who is already partial to knowing how to build a good account. People that ask help with station. Something like 1 in 6 or 1 in 7. It's quite a lot of TTDS. I mean, all 3-star. That's where you're wrong. There's a 2-star weapon. Where am I? I got Zabai on my alt account. She's been delegated to an alt account.
Split the bamboo in the morning, dry it till night. Shape and bend it nice.
Because mostly I think her gameplay is relevant enough for me to test. That's it.
That's how you
oh, hey, look.
remember how to make
That's
a
Widows.
snow lantern. Did you get all that, Chi-Chi? Morning, split bamboo, travel.
Alright, what's up, Widow? What's your gameplay like? GG's guy slop? What is a guy?
Too much milk!
What? Oh, hey, Dub. You changed your name. What is this love song? Yeah, I know, right? I don't know. I don't even know if this song is gonna get copyrighted or not. I guess if your video is not getting copyrighted, then I'm not gonna get copyrighted. Where's the llama hoodie? Not in an Ino team.
Put yourself!
Is this a meme song? Um. Why is this guy with the top 100 never struggling on Fearless, man? What is this guy doing? Yeah, this team plays.
To myself!
It's Chris Brown? Oh. Wait, there is a Novelet. Wait a minute. There is a Novelet. Did you pull a Novelet? Yeah, this is a different account. Yeah. No.
Put my shades back on for this. Hold on.
Put yourself!
I mean, I don't see much reason to not use Novelet throughout. And if it works, it works. Got skin there for some reason. Yeah, chill gameplay.
To myself!
Chill gameplay. Nice one. Alright, let's see. There's a content creator I do want to watch on the story of nod-krai, Sorrowsness. She usually makes in-depth video about the story aspect of the game. Twinkie? Who's Twinkie?
By drawing daily sketches, you can develop discipline, improve your skills, and foster new ideas. It serves to relieve stress.
In the lead up to version 6.4, I realized it was the first time in Genshin's history I expected a satisfying finale to a region's story. I started back in version 2.0, so by the time I caught up, the Inazuma arc was basically done, and overall I found the first 3 regions' Archon quests to be fun, but very flawed. In Sumeru, I was invested in rescuing Nahida, but the Samsara had been a chore and my expectations were still low, so the level of emotional depth the finale reached was a huge surprise for me. Fontaine was in the middle. The first 2 chapters had been fun, but Meripede was painful, so I went in uncertain whether they could recapture that moment of pure magic. When it came to Natlan, I was excited but nervous. I enjoyed the first 4 acts, but hated the interlude and had a lot of complaints about the storytelling. I still had hopes they would deliver for the 3rd year in a row, but I was uncertain, and as you might know, I ended massively disappointed anyway. This time around, the changes to their storytelling in nod-krai left me with an unfamiliar feeling, excitement, without the fear that it would fall apart in the end. Now that it's over, did Hoyo deliver? First, what exactly were we expecting? From the first moment nod-krai was
Hydra,
announced,
welcome
Hoyo
back.
promised it would be different.
I'm doing
to
well.
previous regions.
How are you?
They acknowledged some of the fundamental issues which held Genshin's story back and said this new chapter would have more immersive storytelling, a layered narrative with multiple factions, richer relationships, and characters' histories in the spotlight. This addressed some of the critiques I've explored in the past, the deeper structural issues which prevented many players from engaging with the narrative hidden in the game's lore. Most players knew little of the concepts which would presumably become central in Chesnaya, so there was a risk that the climax of Tevat's arc would end up falling flat. They didn't address the more surface-level concerns, the presentation, the narrative structure of each chapter, the excessive dialogue, the pacing, and so on.
There's still quite a lot of that excessive dialogue. And at points, the pacing is still falling apart, but I think generally for the nod-krai Archon quest, it's pretty good.
However, those aspects had been
Have I not pulled the buy? Oh, you're good. Good to hear. I ended up pulling the buy on my alt account. She is not, I don't like her enough to deserve a spot on my main account. I do have beef with the Lantern Rite story, and I do plan to address some of that today.
improving over time, especially
Talk is cheap, right? Critique is cheap. I want to try to rewrite the story of Lantern Rite, and I think I have a vision that can make a better story. A story that would make me like Zebai more.
in later Natlan. It goes without saying that there'll be many people who had different expectations to my own. If yours were different, then don't take any of this as me denying your existence. I'd actually love to hear what you expected and whether yours were paid off in the end as well. Personally, in the weeks before 6.0, I was excited, but have to admit that deep down, I did not expect it to feel all that different in the end. As I covered in depth in a previous video, the first 3 patches of nod-krai delivered, and not only on the aspects Hoyo promised to improve. The story hooks were compelling, and right from the start we got so many answers, which...
You don't think there's anything special about her? I mean... Yeah. That's correct. She is one of the top 3 DPS in the game, similar to the other previous DPS.
Often led to more.
If you already have the best premium team previously, then you're not gonna find anything new in Zebai. Her playstyle is similar to Flynn. Her playstyle is similar to Kinech. You just press attack until your special skill lights up and you use your special skill, or in the Flynn's case, special burst. And it's pretty much similar to what we've had before.
More questions to explore.
Her main selling point is that she's a lunar character and her damage is pretty good. But if that's not entirely what you're looking for, similar to me, I already have a very strong Nefer team, so my lunar and my damage is already covered. She is a skippable character. Not because she's weak, she's strong. If you like her, go for her.
Deeper lore felt central to the narrative for the first time. And while I still think the transition into Nefer's backstory was a little jarring, everything else about the characters in nod-krai has been great, and I can't wait to do a deeper dive into some of them once I've got the time. I also love to see all of these groups with conflicting perspectives, which made them all feel separate, since it made their cooperation feel meaningful. They worked together in spite of their differences and forged friendships over the course of the story, which led to deeper ties and an emerging sense of shared community by the end. And the presentation was much improved. Good cinematography, dialogue with actual subtext, environmental
scenes,
storytelling which expressed the central conflict, and not to mention more cutscenes than before, with animation just as good as the best from Nutland. There's still lots of room for improvement, and some sections fell back into the bad habits of info dumping and bloated dialogue, but for all
that name drop right now, which moment during the nod-krai Archon quest that you feel is just info dumping, name dropping without any substance? I can tell you one part right now. There are several, but one jump out to me. The section where we just randomly meet Sandroni at the Fatui base and she talk about Naxxes and Grites. That grab came out of absolute nowhere.
almost the entire
And they going on and on and on.
time, I was no longer distracted by flaws in its presentation. And I particularly liked that the actions we took to solve our problems in the earlier acts led directly to the complications we faced in the later ones. I assumed this was what Hoyo meant by layered narrative. I would call it good storytelling. So, in the lead up to the grand finale, what expectations and hopes did we have? Personally, what I cared about the most was Columbina. I'm planning a video exploring her in detail, but
Sandroni Jab has no context,
yeah. Harbinger I found kinda uninteresting to one of my favorite characters in the entire game. So, when they finished off Act 6 with a cliffhanger which saw her sacrifice herself, diving headfirst through the Moon Gate, of course, my absolute #1 expectation for the finale was that we would rescue her somehow. The other obvious expectation was that Dottore would be the central antagonist. He had been working in the shadows, completely hidden from our view, until finally, at the end, he came in and shattered our plans. We needed to make him pay for what he'd done. I also expected...
I think, personally, I think the Dottore threat was a little bit under-mentioned. Well, it should be hinted at a little bit more at the beginning. I'm not sure if that's good or not. The fact that he kind of jumps out of nowhere. I mean, I know there are 2 or 3 times people mentioning it. I want it to be a tiny bit more of people just saying, I don't know what Dottore doing, but create an atmosphere of uncertainty regarding Dottore. I want them to build the expectation for the Dottore reveal a little bit more. Hey, look at that. DNAV got 241k. Nice. It's pretty good. Zubai is a good damage dealer. Hello, Ari. We're diving into some story and critique today.
further exploration.
Yeah.
Of
Grab some food. Sit back, relax.
related lore. The final chapter of a story is often seen as a bad place to focus on lore, but nod-krai's purpose is to deepen our understanding of the world, so its narrative function is a little different than usual. Columbina's backstory felt quite well explored through the earlier acts, but there were still many questions and I expected answers. And, of course, I expected them to continue with the improved storytelling which had been evident throughout Nod-krai, especially their willingness to show multiple perspectives on the same series of events, with our allies
that was cool, showing multiple perspectives.
Towards a big climactic confrontation at the end. All those things I expected, but there were
You bit
others
bullet.
I was certain about.
Hey, you
For
got to it,
example, as I
Lula.
mentioned,
Does it come with the
I
cost of
really liked how they
any...
handled consequences so
Wait.
far, with
And C3 came to you. I mean, you're going to pull Novelet C6 anyway, right? You are going to get Ilua, most likely.
our decisions in earlier sections.
Is that just wanting to pull early?
of them coming back to haunt us. I always want more of that, since it makes for such a satisfying story, but at the same time, it's not essential. I also kinda hoped Revere would return as an antagonist. Dottore and Revere are both such different challenges to face. One, a psychopathic but ultimately logical and calculating villain, the other so corrupted that he's just a malevolent force of nature at this point. Genshin of
Yeah, I can kind of see that point. I think if Revere still poses as a challenge, somehow it's gonna be more interesting than him just being, yeah, I'm over this. Maybe it makes the last act a little bit too bloated, but I think it will still make for a good story if Revere is still opposing us somehow, in one way or another.
lacks compelling villains, so while Dottore is even better, I hope this was not the last we'd see of Revere too.
Gotcha,
And
you
the
want to
same
play with Lunar Crystallize.
goes for thematic depth. Up until this point, every part of the story touched on ideas of belonging and identity, and the question of finding a place to call home. It gave everything that little extra depth, a shared soul which brought it all together. And similarly, while I hoped the travelers' search for their spaceship would continue to be treated with importance, I kind of expected it to be sidelined into post-quest dialogue, with any actual payoff left relegated to a Dainsleif quest we could expect in the later nod-krai patches. And I also hoped we'd see some meaningful changes, more character growth, more changing relationships, and hopefully some lasting consequences for the world itself. Characters and relationships have been such a strength to nod-krai so far that I really wanted it to continue, and I'm always wishing for our actions to feel like they matter. When talking about all this in the lead up to Luna 4, I was just genuinely excited. It crossed my mind that they could completely drop the ball, but the storytelling in Acts 1 to 6 had been so competent and
they've proven
deliberate that I just did
again
not
and
think
again that they
would.
could drop
I
the
had a
balls
voice
with
in the back
story.
of my head saying that perhaps my expectations were too high and I risked being disappointed yet again, but as I've said before, we should demand genuinely good stories from these games. If they were to fall short, then that's just life. All we can ask is that they try and have open discussions about where things miss the mark, not take it as a sign that we should lower our standards. In
And
the
oh
interest of
boy,
not having this
they missed the mark with Lantern. Alright, I'm getting ahead of myself.
video be hours long, I'll leave any kind of detailed recap for my yearly retrospective and instead focus on that important question. Did they actually deliver on those expectations? For simplicity, let's just go from top to bottom through each of the things I was expecting and hoping for, and then at the end we'll talk about some other positives and negatives and what questions we're left with at the end to be explored in future quests. Of course, my biggest and most important expectation was pushed aside right from the
The one
first
quest was
moment of the
good.
quest,
I have
and
not done the
honestly,
one
it
quest
made
yet.
more sense
Probably
this way.
during exploration
It started
stream.
the group meeting up to figure out how to combat Dottore. Some stayed back to guard Nasha Town, while others set out to meet Arlecchino and Sandroni to infiltrate his research facility. They don't know for sure that Columbina's even alive at that point, and I mean technically she isn't. They have no clue how they could even begin to bring her back, and when there's a psychotic megalomaniac trying to turn himself into a literal god, destroying the fabric of reality along the way, they have perhaps more immediate concerns. And this let Columbina's story unfold at a more measured pace, giving it the time and weight that it deserved, giving her agency in her own return, and allowing us to dive far deeper into her origins and nature than I expected.
Yeah, I like
loved
the perspective
everything
of
about this
Columbina.
sequence. The realization that all those odd
The
moments
simple
in
fact
past
that
quests
we
were some
do
mysterious
not have to play as Traveler always in a quest is nice. We got to see so many different perspectives.
influence helped us on our way, where Columbina touching the world as she travelled back through time was great. Revisiting them with this new perspective made them all the more poignant, especially that crucial moment when we call out her name, and the realization about Luonotar's creation and purpose made so much sense. This was very much like Interstellar, except in this case it all felt completely natural. Meanwhile, Dottore was every bit the antagonist that I had hoped for. He was menacing and manipulative and seemed a truly unstoppable force we had little hope of defeating. His only weakness was his insatiable desire to study everything around him, to dissect each person's motivations and understand how they tick. Even though he had the power to destroy everyone on a whim, he was too engrossed in studying their reactions to ever deny himself that intellectual satisfaction. I think this is a pretty risky character archetype to go with. He could so easily have come come across as the stereotypical mustache-twirling, monologuing villain who is ultimately so full of hubris that any sense of threat is simply absent, especially because in a gacha game, there's never really any chance of our heroes failing.
I think nod-krai was
Oya did a
written well.
great job of getting the balance right.
There
I
are
especially loved
spotty
his
moments,
interactions with the
but
traveler. His
generally,
pointed questions which skirted with
the
breaking
villain's
fourth
written
wall
well.
is so much fun because yes, we do grow weary of being stuck in the same loop day after day. It was very satisfying to finally defeat him, though of course I highly doubt that's the last we'll see of him.
This is how unrecognized high IQ looks in kids.
nod-krai is just
Constant
unhinged, you
overthinking.
cannot
High
change
IQ
mind.
minds
Yeah,
analyze
nod-krai is
everything.
unhinged.
And when it
He
came to
claims that, well, there are different moments that he claims he's above feelings of anger and stuff, but his actions though shows otherwise.
even though
He's just a maniac.
I was expecting
And I think he makes an interesting villain.
it to be important, I did not expect us to literally meet the ancient
Interstellar
moon
plot,
goddesses. After the first few sections of Columbina's journey into the past turned out to be such poignant payoffs to those mysterious moments in earlier quests, and after she encountered Rerir and Thalindis, she set out to journey further into the past in search of deeper answers. Since I had a lot of questions, even if the truth of
She keeps walking on heels, by the way.
Columbina's origins had been presented as some dusty murals and verbose texts we need to piece together, I would have been engrossed. Instead, we got to meet her moon sisters. They had actual unique designs instead of generic NPCs, plus I loved their interactions. This whole section felt alive because of the emotions and tensions between them, and the answers to all those questions came one after another. The things we learned made sense of everything that happened up until that point, and the solution to Columbina's return felt like it emerged naturally from the setup. The deeper integration of the lore into nod-krai's story has been a huge positive. And when it comes to storytelling and narrative structure, there were some moments which took longer than they needed, but that's much less of a problem when it's an exception, not the norm. When an entire quest is crammed with empty fluff, it feels like a never-ending slog. Here, even those group scenes standing around and debating were often full of purpose, so the few which overstayed their welcome had little effect on the pacing overall. The high-level narrative structure deserves a lot of praise. nod-krai has leaned into these wider stories with several groups of characters off doing things in parallel, each confronting different challenges and uncovering key information, then coming back together and strategizing once more. Such stories risk feeling bloated, but even though so much happened, they didn't inflate the duration of each quest. And in these final acts, Columbina's thread paid off their layered narrative promise with aplomb. It revisited key moments across all those sprawling tales, added new depth to some which already stood out as highlights, and tied it all together in such a satisfying way. Overall, everything I had expected from the story was more than satisfactory. But what about the things I'd hoped to see?
It's just glad that we have a villainous villain, not one that we are meant to sympathize for, because that's for some reason what people wanted from Bina. Could have gone either way with her. People wanted for Bina to be a sympathizable villain? Wait, what? Oh, so people wanted Columbina before she was released in the game at all, or before she was learned more in the game, to just be some kind of villainous angel, right? There was that theory going out on for a long while. There's some Hoyo Fair video about that too. But yeah, I think nod-krai is just a villain through and through, and they do not attempt to redeem him this time, which I like. Previously, there was every single harbinger we have fought before in some way or another is still reasonably friends with Traveler afterward, which is kind of weird. They don't have the balls to go for something villainous, but I think they deliver this one with nod-krai.
When it comes to consequences within the story, I can't think of anything specific that we did along the way which came back to bite us before the end, except perhaps the Traveler getting captured. nod-krai turned out to be such a formidable opponent that there wasn't any space for things like that.
Yeah,
however,
that whole
payoff
Fair animation was cool.
Columbina's journey filled this gap for me. This hope is all about wanting things which happen early in the story to feel like they affect what happens later on, and while that's most obvious through negative consequences, it can be done through other means. I adore narrative narratives which play with time, and going back to influence those crucial moments absolutely scratched this itch for me, even though it was disconnected from the threat we faced in the end. Revere did return, but was a shadow of his former self.
Yeah,
No longer a malevolent
that
force
was...
of nature.
I wanted this meaning to be a little bit more... For the lack of the better word, spicy. As in, he may still be... he still may be against Columbina some way. Maybe slightly more, not as angry, but he'll still have conflicting goals. This meeting was a little bit flat to me.
Power was stripped.
Your HOD said you have to prepare to participate on upcoming debate competition. What's your HOD? Do you like to participate on upcoming debate competition? If that's what you like, go right ahead.
Away, and all that's left is his human
Head of the
soul,
department.
filled
I see.
with regret. I don't hate what they did with him, and in some ways it's a fitting end to his story, though I'm not sure Tholindis deserved such a lonely fate, but it is a little sad that all his potential for utter chaos and destruction vanished into the void. Dottore was more than enough evil to carry this entire finale on his own, so it didn't make all that big a difference in the end.
Yeah, they could do something more with Reria. I'm just throwing it out there. But, okay, I don't think it's gonna be too distracting from the main quest, but perhaps when Columbina meets Reria, he is still antagonistic toward Columbina, and his mind is still a little bit blurry, even though he's a little bit more tired. So he still tries to create different abyssal area underground that we have to avoid when we are walking by. And we can hear some of his voice lines being still bitter and painful. But later on, as we proceed, we meet Tholindis. And after talking to Tholindis, and after Reria chases after Columbina, he meets Tholindis. And Tholindis is able to calm him down. And then they can still deliver all the information, the law implications that they have delivered during those conversations with both Reria and Tholindis. They could tie up the thread of Reria and Tholindis a little bit better. I think that would not take up too much more time, and it would be a little bit more satisfying ending to this.
His story. Though I'm not sure Tholindis deserves such a lonely fate, but it is a little sad that all his potential for utter chaos and destruction vanished into the void.
She just emotionally blackmailed you? I'm sure it's not that serious, but if it is, because I don't know the dynamic between you two, just say no.
Dottore was more than enough evil to carry this entire finale on his own, so it didn't make all that big a difference in the end. But I hope that if we encounter other sinners in the future, Revere turns out to be just a hint of how destructive they can be. On the other hand, when it comes to thematic depth, they put ideas like belonging and identity front and center once again. Columbina's arc has revolved around this from the very start of nod-krai, and here we got a truly fitting conclusion. She discovered the true fate of her predecessors, found acceptance amongst them along with a passing of the torch where they granted her the full power of all three moons, and in return she gave them closure too. She found that her connection to nod-krai was deeper than she ever imagined, and she finally made the choice to accept her place in the people's hearts. Meanwhile, the search for the Traveler's spaceship was side-
Pretty strict? What do you mean by that? Weirdo, why strict?
line for the vast majority of this patch until after Dottore is defeated, when we sail to the moon and find it waiting there. I think this quest would have felt satisfying even without this epilogue, and they could have just pushed this back to the inevitable Dayslip quest, and it would have.
This is an
probably
extra
been fine, but
icing on the
it's great
cake.
to see yet more movement on this long neglected plot. It's also great to finally have an alternate skin for the Traveler, though I still think we should get a new one themed for each region we visit. And finally, I hoped for some meaningful changes, and when it comes to the characters, the finale was great on this point. Columbina is, of course, the star, and she finally accepted her place among the people of nod-krai and chose to accept Lauma's offer for her to live with the Frostmoon Scions. I love that this was treated as a new beginning. For now, the elders are timid around her, but the children are more curious and open. There's also personal growth for several other characters, and even nod-krai as a whole is moving forwards. We had all these disparate groups working together once again, but this time, by the end, the bonds they forged had overcome their differences, and they're beginning to put in place new ways to work together for a brighter future. And they even did this for characters who were mostly sidelined throughout the finale.
Are we able to go back to the moon after? I don't think so.
Great example of how to utilize a character who isn't in the spotlight. At the start, they made it clear that she would be handling the evacuation. Then, at the end, they paid it off by showing a normal kid from Nasha Town hero worship her. It felt exactly like the kind of thing a child would feel towards a protector in their time of need, and it was lovely to see Nefa appreciated and accepted by the people she helped. And when it comes to the world, I do still wish they'd find some way for our actions to have some visible changes on the world, like battle scars, for example, but at least this time, the fight
Widow, you know what to do. If you don't want to, say no.
it mostly took place on a magic platform in the sky, so it doesn't feel as jarring as in some past regions. The wings on Columbina's statue look high, so it doesn't feel
Even if you want to, but you think that her approach to it is troublesome, tell her about it. Or if you don't think that she's a person who can change, don't work with her. I have a very simple no BS rule when it comes to working with people.
as jarring. At least this time, the fight mostly took place on a magic platform in the sky.
Who's this
so it
good
doesn't
looking guy? I know, right? I know. Yeah, he's good looking, isn't it?
feel as jarring as in some past regions. The wings on Columbina's statue look like they'll be a nice touch, at least, but I won't have them for at least another month because of that stupid time gate for the Selene Chronicles, though more on that in my Columbina video. There are also a couple of unexpected positives which I really want to call out. First, the boss fights with the Touré were actually kinda fun. Most bosses in Genshin end up feeling anticlimactic.
You know what? Yeah.
Even when they manage to make them look good, the mechanics range from mundane time wasters to actively frustrating bullshit with no redeeming qualities. There were a few where they tried to get creative, but these gave too much focus on their one-time mechanics at the expense of making the combat aspect feel irrelevant, and ended up a little too gimmicky for my preferences. It's too early to tell how the Dottore boss fight will feel in the long run, but in the moment, it was legitimately fun, and I've enjoyed repeating it to farm for materials. His powers manipulate the fundamental nature of reality, while his desire is to be recognized as a god, and both of these were expressed through his mechanics, without making the combat feel irrelevant. He gives commands and rewards us if we comply, or punishes us if we choose defiance. He flips our sense of direction, which is such a fun idea rendered a little pointless by the auto-targeting built into most characters. And he calls forth gigantic attacks, which we have to shelter from in order to survive. These mechanics are fun, appropriate, and don't overshadow the importance of combat during this fight. While it's still less mechanically engaging than the boss fights you'll see.
Do I think Dottore will be playable? It's unlikely. And if they make Dottore playable, they have to... It's gonna be really cheap. But maybe throughout a lot of time and a lot of good storytelling they could. I don't know if Genshin is capable of that good storytelling for a long period of time to quote-unquote redeem Dottore. They have to do something drastic for him to be playable. There are definitely people who likes Dottore, but I think they have done a good job so far of writing him as a villain that a lot of people also hate him as a character. Every Harbinger boss is playable, say that to my beloved Ash.
In other games, it stands out as a creative and engaging battle which plays to the strengths of Genshin's system while adding something new to express the personality and powers of our enemy. This one might be a little controversial, but I actually quite liked Sandroni in the end. I've seen many express their disappointment that yet again Hoyo made a Harbinger far less antagonistic than people
Hi,
had
Piv.
expected at first, but more on that in the
Welcome
next
back.
section later on. Putting that whole question aside, and taking the Sandroni we got in the nod-krai arc at face value, she seems much like a typical tsundere, someone who appears cold and hostile at first, but slowly reveals their inner warmth. This is another which can feel
Make an
far too
Asia
cliché,
account.
but I think
Oh,
there
boy.
are two reasons she worked for me. First, they didn't push her too far towards expressing her growing warmth, and they kept her prickly exterior right until the end. Second, those more subtle interactions which revealed the truth behind her cold demeanor all involved other characters I already liked. Columbina won me over pretty quickly, and her interactions with Sandroni were always fun to see and filled with subtext which I couldn't help but find adorable. I already liked Arlecchino, but her slight contradiction when Sandroni tries to pretend she didn't care about the Traveler's Return was hilarious. After all that build-up, her sacrifice at the end felt fitting, especially because her trusting in her friends became a key reason we were able to defeat Dottore, something he did not foresee as possible.
You know what? That perspective is okay. You know, during this, I was not entirely on board. Maybe I was too fixated on the fact
A
that
key reason we were able to
the formula that she was holding is in Polonia instead of herself. I think I was too fixated on that and think that, yeah, she is still kind of relying on herself too much. But sure, I see the broader perspective now. She's relying on Nico, Maka, and Arlecchino to help her finishing the thing. Something like his copy is going against him in a different way of pursuing knowledge. So, here's the thing. I think that they can definitely make a different copy of Dottore to be playable, but then it's almost feel like an entire different character that they have to build up for. They have to build some kind of characteristic for that new segment of Dottore, because it's an entirely different character at this point. They just happen to look similar and have a similar voice. That is not always just a tried and true method. It still requires good storytelling to be able to sell that character. If they just make a different segment of Dottore and make that playable, without any part in the middle, without any storytelling to make that segment likable or explaining that, then no one's gonna like him. The people who likes the current villainous Dottore will not pull for that new segment of Dottore. The people who don't like Dottore will not feel a connection to that new segment either. It still requires a huge amount of character building and story to be able to make him playable and to have people actually like him. So if we're following up on that discussion,
to defeat Dottore, something he did not foresee as possible. It's pretty obvious that she'll return, with the Fontaine Institute presumably putting her core into a new body. I just hope it doesn't feel like a
this YouTuber is pretty nice. Well, her voice too. Her voice nice, I guess.
reset to a
But what I mean is this YouTuber has been making quite a field of story, not lore, but this is story critique related videos for many gacha games, and I like her perspective a lot.
completely new personality. And speaking of character resets, back when Wanderer was wiped from Soul, I remember feeling like his story ended up a little bit lackluster, especially at the end. He somehow went from a character I loved to hate to one who didn't make me feel much either way. His part in Simulanka began to win me over, and over the course of nod-krai, he's been a welcome surprise. His relationship with During, in particular, is one I always look forward to, and I loved his interactions with the Harbingers. He knows them intimately and can't help but make barbed observations, and their reactions are priceless. I particularly like that he demonstrated his trust in the Traveler by accepting our faith in Sandroni's good intentions, even though it put him in such a vulnerable...
I kind of want Wanderer to be a more key factor in the final fight. I want Sandroni to put a little bit more trust into Wanderer at the end. Like, it doesn't have to be that way, but the scene where Sandroni sacrificed herself, the reveal could also be that just like Sandroni has been borrowing Wanderer's core from before to do her calculations, now it's kind of reverse, where many of her planning has been embedded into Wanderer somehow. They can magic that shit up. Doesn't matter. I want this guy to be more involved in the climax of the story.
Position. He's a great example.
And I think that would make, not just because I like the guy, but I think that would make for interesting story, and would also be interesting for the character Sandroni to be trusting in someone else. In this case, Wanderer.
Of how to bring older characters into the story. It makes sense that he'd be there. He plays a crucial role in important events. Other characters' personalities shine through their interactions with him, and he shows continued growth and change as a person, yet his presence does not inflate the length of the story. It makes it all feel rich and alive.
Imagine conducting every part of your research only on one platform. Meet Boreum, your AI-powered research companion.
Now, when it comes to things which bothered me, the one which annoyed me the most was the complete and utter lack of moments to take a break. Technically, you could force
that is true.
the quest, but you had no way to know just how much of it you'd have to repeat. I was burned by that once in the past. I played an hour of Samsara quest, but had to stop playing partway through, only to find the entire quest started from the beginning once I returned. I do not want to go through that again. This time, I was aware the quest would be long, so I started a good
Did I pause it by? I ended up pulling her on my alt account.
Take a break to cook and eat after Act 7, and then play the rest afterwards. Instead, after a full 3.5 hours, I discovered that the moment Act 7 ends, it instantly starts Act 8 with no...
Yeah, they could just end the quest. No one would complain. After the moment with Colombina walking past Traveler, they could just drop us back in the open world and says, yeah, Act 7 ended. Here, you go here in the quest mark location if you want to continue Act 8. They don't have to do this.
Opportunity to step away in between. I should have forced quick then, but I assumed that surely they'd at least have a breakpoint after the intro to the next section. Unfortunately, I was mistaken, so I did end up having to replay a small chunk of Act 8 after eventually giving up and quitting mid-scene. I really hope they get the balance on this better in the future. I understand that they're aiming for immersion. It's often been annoying when quests pause mid-conversation, ask you to walk a few meters and then continue, but only because it was happening constantly and at points which were not natural breaks in the flow of the story. We want something in between. Don't give us a 6-hour quest without a break, just add a few of those moments in between disconnected scenes. One aspect of the story which feels a little like a missed opportunity is the Pale Star Edict. I'd be unsurprised if most people forgot what the heck it even was by now.
Yeah, I forgot what it is.
The teaser set up that the Tsaritsa had issued an edict, ordering the Fatui to retrieve the damselette from nod-krai, whatever it takes.
Oh yeah, we did not see anything from the dude in that trailer. I forgot what the dude's name is.
Such a task, but to me it felt like ominous foreshadowing for a major confrontation, at the very least between Colombina and the Harbingers, but perhaps with some working against the Tsaritsa's stated goals. Instead, Dottore tried to capture Colombina for his own reasons, while both Sandroni and Arlecchino ignored the edict entirely, until eventually it was cancelled after Dottore's true intentions were discovered. So much other awesome stuff happened that it's hard to see where they could have included all of that, but it's still sad to see such an evocative idea fail to have any payoff.
That's true. I kind of forgot about it altogether.
In general. Before we...
You should go for the buy! Tell us how it all goes. Oh, you can, the offer still stand. You can share your screen if you want to pull the buy and get in the voice chat of Discord.
I met them, they seemed like powerful villains shrouded in mystery. Many people
6.5,
and the way they were presented set expectations high, especially after the
Because they did the
iconic
highest
Winter
command of the
Night's
Fortui to do it no matter
But
what.
Each
I
one
see.
we met turned out to be more sympathetic than had been expected. This
Yeah.
may come from the fact that all we really knew of them before were their reputations, plus some minor anecdotes from characters like Child. who are
But it can get old. I think the fact that every Harbinger ends up becoming sympathetic, it's getting a little bit old. Dottore being a villain through and through is a fresh change.
far from reliable sources of truth. People's hopes for strong antagonists led them to take those at face value, and speculation led to headcanons about each one's personality, which ended up far from accurate. So far, Dottore is the only one who fits the anime villain archetype which many were hoping for, and he has undeniably been one of the biggest strengths of nod-krai's finale. I can sympathize with people's disappointment that Sandrone didn't end up like that too, even though I warmed up to her in the end. Personally, I like stories which avoid pure black and white morality, which present their protagonists as flawed and their villains as redeemable, with some few exceptions who are truly...
Which VC should go in? Go in any of the loud hangout or quiet chilling VC. And hold on, I think this video is about to end in 3 minutes, so we can do it then.
More antagonists like Dottore or Revere.
Any of loud hangout, quiet chilling, I can drag you into streaming.
I'm just hoping the Sinners and the Shades can take on that role instead. And finally, something I always want the ending to do is set things up for the next chapter. I feel like this is something Genshin pushed to the background a little too much in the past. The story is a travelogue where we witness or even take part in momentous
They
events in
do
each
kind of set
region,
things up
so it
now.
does make sense for each finale to focus on
The
completing that
questioning the
story,
Archon
but
at the
it always
end,
meant that the
they have
next
always
story
been
felt
doing
very
that.
distant by the end, and they left themselves a lot of work to do to build anticipation. This time around, there are many threads which will pull the story forwards. Varga called in the favor owed to him by the Hexen Circle. Surely this will have unintended
Alright,
consequences
fair
later
enough.
on. And what actually happened at the border defended by the witches? What border was it anyway, since it's clearly not the false sky itself? And they said that whatever happened there made Tevat easily detectable by the abyss. What will that lead to? Or, on another tack entirely, Columbina gave the moon marrows to Lauma and Arlecchino, and returned the Kuvaki to Nod-krai. Exactly how powerful
Hold
are
on, I was too looking, I was too focusing on looking at the cutscene. Hold on, what's she saying?
What happened there made Tevat easily detectable by the abyss. What will that lead to? Or, on another tack entirely, Columbina gave the moon marrows to Lauma and Arlecchino, and returned the Kuvaki to Nod-krai. Exactly how powerful are those two now? Strong enough to rival Archons, perhaps? If Celestia awakens, how will they react to the presence of these long-lost powers? What part will Columbina have to play in that? And now that she's regained her power and been accepted by Tevat, will the Saritsa try to bring her back as a harbinger
Godzilla at
once more?
77
After all,
per
most of them
Oh
are dead
boy,
or
that
missing
is-
at this point. And like, Dottore
It's a little
isn't
bit
really
bit
dead,
long
right?
until there to
That
get there.
glitch on the title screen at the end of the quest looked just like the powers he used to twist reality. We already knew he had segments which could work independently, and the burning of Irminsul has not yet happened. And since he's such a fantastic antagonist, surely they can't throw him away that easily. Obviously, I'm hoping we get more Archon quests in Nod-krai which begin to explore these questions, but I would be shocked if they were all answered before we set out towards Nesnaya, and besides, some answers just lead to more questions. All of this is why I wanted a wider story to be better integrated into the Archon quests.
I think the glitch at the end was well executed. It's a very minor thing, but it sets up people's expectation that Dottore is still not entirely gone. And in the future, when he's coming back, people are kind of hype for it instead of feeling like it's a cheap gimmick. Just a very simple thing in storytelling. Like the glitch, oh, he's gonna be back. And no one's gonna be... Well, it makes it less surprising, but it also makes it less... feeling less like a... Like, there are many times in many storytelling that character, both heroes or villains, get resurrected and people feel that it's not earned yet in the story. And this is one way they can lead into
There's
that
so much
seamlessly.
I want to know now, which used to feel like background
I'm glazing a
noise
very
which did
minor
not
detail.
matter. Even though this was the first time I expected a satisfying finale to a region story, it still managed to exceed those expectations. There are still aspects which I'd have wanted to be handled differently, and others where I think they fell back into bad habits, but on the whole, it was fantastic, and most of my complaints are me wishing for a slightly different story rather than a better one. They kept the best parts of what they'd created in the past, and added so much more into Nod-krai that it feels like a
I think
completely
nod-krai is really
different
well
game,
done.
but one which recaptures the soul which made so many fall in love with Teyvat in the first place. Let's hope they keep it going. Until next time.
Thank you, Sorosness. Oh, I forgot about the quest in the background. Alright, just do that real quick. We're still not done with the first conversation. Alright, Piv is here. Hi, Piv. You're currently muting yourself. Would you like to share your screen for the polling? All right. Chad, say hi to Piff. Oh, wait. There we go. Chad, say hi to Piff again.
Wait a minute. Okay, I'll be getting off stream real quick because VC and stuff, and also my phone is gonna explode probably.
I see. So are you gonna switch device?
No. It'll be. Sorry, this is embarrassing.
Don't worry, take your time.
Alright.
When you are ready, let me know. I'm just mindlessly clicking through the Lantern Rite quest on my alt account right now.
Don't get me started. Not
Peach.
believing is one thing, but he even wants to change. Well, it was getting about. Can you believe?
Oh, what about something Geo?
Oh, that's actually loading screen.
I like that one.
No worries, take your time.
Yeah.
So, yes, so I'm just gonna continue yapping after that video a little bit. But feel free to let me know, interrupt me whenever.
Alright.
After the peak that is nod-krai quest, I had such high expectation for the Lantern Rite quest, and
This isn't about getting.
that is mainly why I am feeling underwhelmed by the quest. If I did not come in here with such high expectation, then I think I will be less disappointed and I'll be just like, yeah, another so-so quest.
Mr. Zhongli is yeah.
Zuba is kind of a character I anticipated for too, but the fact that they fumble her quest so hard makes me a little bit salty. I want her story to be handled a little bit better. Such a pretty character.
She deserves better.
Yeah, I agree. And after this segment of the stream, I can definitely talk more about how I would rewrite the Lantern Rite quest for it to feel more impactful as well. Trying to keep most of the idea that they have intact, but I think we can change some things. Just spamming Pip right now. The command.
Guys, don't do that.
Why not? To praise you?
Each other. You should spam each other. You should appreciate yourselves and each other.
Now,
You guys deserve love too.
that is true. And we also include you, right?
I guess that is true.
Yeah, just spam
I can't
Pip.
really argue against that. No.
Baby boo.
Oh god. Oof. Okay, I think this is a decent spot.
That's good.
Okay. I'm really scared.
Okay, hold on. Let
Yeah, I
me
have
go
this
ahead. Yeah,
the
you
stream
are
should
streaming
be
it,
on.
right? Cool. Give me a moment. I'm just gonna mindlessly get into a cutscene and let it play in the background while we're doing other stuff. Because I've already done the quest. There we go. Okay.
You have the noise in the back. Should I start?
I am currently opening your screen. Give me a moment.
You tell me if it's not working.
It is working.
Okay, fantastic. So
There we go, Khabib. Go ahead.
alright, it's time to gamble.
What's your pity
Time to
currently?
gamble. 9.
Okay,
pity.
and that.
That's really
hey, Elua.
Ilua is really good.
Elua is nice.
Yeah, at least for the character I'm trying to get.
So this is gonna
Giving
be
us many
39.
Yeah, bruh.
Suck rock! May she get a horse lady, chat. May she get the horse and ride her around. Wait,
I want the lady, dude. That's all that matters.
that's all that matters. This is gonna be 59.
59. See,
Hey, another
no, I
Idla.
didn't want to click on that. Goro is good too because he's C0. Well, he was C0. I kind of
69?
Yeah, 6. Oh my god. So he should be C2 now.
Yeah, he should be C2. That's a pretty decent point for him. Hey! 79 should be soft pity-ish. Alright, chat.
My name is Dubai. I was once.
I did not expect to win the 50-50.
You did not?
No,
Come on.
I have really bad 50-50 luck.
Come on, you're doing it on stream. Chat is here with you. There's no way you'll lose. Right, chat?
That is true.
You shall have my company.
Oh my god. She's so pretty, dude.
She's pretty.
Damn, that sure was some physics there.
Okay. More physics, please.
Really... Hold on.
I don't think your screen is handling her well.
It probably isn't.
You didn't
I'm
expect
really
it.
I'm really happy.
Sorry that you lost. Yeah, I pulled one enough yesterday, and we did not. I think you were there for that. That's so unfortunate.
Yeah, I was there. It was pretty unfortunate. Unfortunately, that's unfortunate. Unfortunately, goddamn, I'm truly.
Yeah, that's double the unfortunate. Unfortunity.
She's so pretty. So yeah, that was it for me. That's enough pay for now.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you for having me on stream. That was really fun.
Thank you for being here, and congrats on getting the buy earlier than you expected.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I will be watching stream again.
Yeah.
Bye.
Tell Biv I said she pulled for Edward and got a horse. You can tell her yourself. She's coming back to stream right now. One more 50-50 and you have the capturing radius. It's unfortunate, yeah. Capturing radiance is a cool mechanic that does help us minimize the loss and for it to not be too much. She has tiara? What do you mean by tiara? Alright, let's put the thing in the background.
Oh,
some sound here.
but in this picture, the moon is being covered. Then it's still an omen. We never said that. Ugh.
Attention, everyone! As the auspicious festival season approaches, I have an announcement to make.
Babe, you're absolutely fine.
I'm on the verge of becoming one of the most
If you...
archaeologists in all.
I swear, if you don't mention the nervousness, people would not have noticed it. You can absolutely walk into a room and own it. It is generally a thing that, for me, it comes with practice. Before I do streaming, I do a lot of public speaking. And public speaking is just can be very normal thing. It can be just go up to a class and do a presentation. Go up in my workplace and do some presentation. I also join a what is it called? Thing called something master, Toastmaster. Yeah, and that is basically a group for the people to just come together and practice doing presentations together. It's nice to be able to just feel like, yeah, this is a normal thing. Speaking with people and people wanting to listen to us, there's not that much to be afraid of. Which eventually leads me to doing streaming things. Point is, there's nothing to be afraid of. People are generally nice people, and especially the people in the community, in chat, are very nice and accepting people, kind, wholesome. So being around people like this is a very safe environment to just be yourself in. Alright, I'm going to put the quest just going on in the background, and then we're gonna talk about how I could potentially rewrite this quest. It's gonna have it on lower volume in the background. It's good enough. And let it run autoplay.
At a prestigious academy, I've still managed to dig up tons of treasures, and I understand practically a whole dictionary.
All right, let's bring up a Word document.
Like my pops always says, no pain, no gain. And I haven't had it easy, that's for sure.
So here are the complaints that I have about the quest.
My turn to make a name for myself.
Biggest complaint is that
no idea. Maybe she ate a bad batch of perch too?
We're gonna go from the bigger complaint first, and then we're gonna go down the list into the smaller complaints and how that can be addressed. It falls flat.
Long gone?
Let me use bolder text or bigger text so people can see. It falls flat.
Short of a stew, if you know what I mean.
Why does it fall flat?
Blackback perch stew is my favorite.
It does not set up proper stake and follow up on it on the thread.
Young lady, you need to calm down.
It does not have a nice climax to the story.
How does that sound? This is a place for
It does not have the appropriate atmosphere throughout. What do you mean by atmosphere? So imagine this. All of the moments that we met with the different fragments or deadly self of Zubai, it's all in the kind of festive atmosphere of the lantern rite. So even when the red fragment of Zubai are haunting people, it kind of presents itself in a funny way. Gaming goes and want to get disciple and met both of the adapters, and then after Zubai haunts the other dude, the adapters dude, he's just going to plant some mints at Cloud Retainer abode. I feel like the tone can be slightly less whimsy, and the tone can be something a little bit more grounded, a little bit more sentimental.
How do we know she wasn't possessed by some kind of evil?
And that is something that we have to set up throughout the entire story,
All right.
rather than just at the last moment possible.
And the treasure she found.
It makes the story feel just kind of something mundane, something not very important, and people festive atmosphere is still more important, and Lantern Rite is still the more important thing that's happening. The counterexample to this is last year Lantern Rite. They have managed to do something that is still Lantern Rite, still festive. I'm talking about the hotel thing from last year. And they still able to convey the struggle that hotel goes through. And at times, we can pick up on the hint that she's ready to sacrifice herself. And it's a little bit bittersweet, it's a little bit melancholy. They have managed to do that last year. And I think they could definitely do it again this year.
But the word long gone popped up as
Yeah, it's hard to take something seriously when the game itself doesn't present it all that serious. I agree. I think you explain it better than I do. When we are going to, with the yellow segment of, I keep using the word segment like now, like she's Dottore, but the yellow part of Zubai, we are still going around doing whimsical thing, meeting with all the people in the festive atmosphere, going to eat at Changling's place, going to discuss about the opera with Yunjin. I think we went somewhere else, but I could not remember exactly what it is. It doesn't feel as grounded into the struggle that we or Zubai has to go through, or all her different self has to go through. So that's what I mean by appropriate atmosphere.
there are other theories out there too.
And let me see. There is not...
Transforming into an adeptus who aided
Okay, there is not enough screen time for the blue Zubai.
Yet in other ancient texts, including
We don't learn about what that is. Now, at the core, each of the color, red, yellow, and blue, is supposed to be representing one facet of her personality. We learn about her determination to help people, and from that come her anger, which is represented through the red fragment. We learn about her more carefree nature through the yellow fragment, and just her love for cultural art. But the blue one is just, she likes math, I guess. Why it is okay? I don't think it's a good storytelling way to do so. Like, we can definitely, you can justify it logically, like that's her logical part, so she likes math. That's fine, there's no emotion there. But that does not make for a good story. Even we can explain in that way, it's not make for a good story. So what we are going to do to address all of this is we're going to give each different part of Zubai a different part of her emotion that she still carries. We don't, it doesn't have to entirely make sense. We don't have to explain that this segment is having this emotion because of this. We don't have to do that. Here, what I'm proposing. Blue Zubai. Alright, let's start with red first. Red, they are doing a really good part of red. Anger. At surface, we see anger. But look deeper, we see determination to help people. At yellow, we see carefree plus appreciation for arts. But at the deeper part, we don't really see much. We don't really see what's the deeper thing about yellow here. Anyone picked up anything on this, or is this just bad storytelling that they are not able to convey anything? The yellow seems just very one-dimensional for me. And then there's blue, which is now just emotionless, plus likes math. Law crafting, yeah. What I am proposing.
Thinking about it now, could it be possible?
This is gonna be part of me just thinking what is cool,
Fabricated it to gain academic recognition.
and part of me just think what is a cool story that I would tell.
I never even thought of it like that.
Blue is love.
How about we go check out that
Love and pain.
exactly where it is?
Yellow?
I'll get scolded if I get home too late.
I'm not sure what we can give yellow. I want yellow to be one thing to clinch to life. That's kind of the thing that they are selling at the beginning, right? Yellow wants to be just her own thing. She doesn't want to be disappearing from this world. She doesn't want to become one with Zebai anymore. What is the deeper connection that would make sense, that would make her, I guess becoming one with Zebai again and potentially disappearing from this world is not all that bad. What would be the source here?
What should I try this time?
Oh wait, did someone ask some question? Can I please start today's stream a bit? Guys, station help. This is not the stream, Zoro. This is the stream where I lock into the lore. And I am passionate about Lantern Rite quests. I'm passionate because they fumble the story for my potential waifu so bad. I feel immense salt and anger that I want to rewrite it. Critique, I think, is cheap. Anyone can just critique, but can we do better? And I think I can do better. I honestly think so. So I'm doing it.
Your grandfather is
Let me think about this. I'm gonna revisit this point for a moment, for a little bit later.
on Lantern Rite.
If you have any idea, you can still let me know as well.
The signs are indicating. Celestial observation isn't Grandpa's strong suit, but he discussed it with several other elders from
Another thing I don't like about this is the structure
consistent with the information we've received from other sources
of the story does not fit well together.
Jonju the Moon Devourer happening in real life.
This is kind of in the point of the story does not have a nice climax.
I thought it was just a rumor.
If only for a very simple thing.
Bigger issue is that all
What if we meet the yellow fragment first, when the conversation's still flowing in a more somewhat carefree manner, and then we meet the red fragment later? I think the anger and the intensity of the red fragment makes for a nicer progression in the story. Okay, we meet this one, we meet the yellow one, it's nice and all, we just have to convince her. But the red one, we have to, she poses a danger to us, in a sense. She needs more convincing, and the emotion stake is higher.
in the harbor enjoying the Shao lanterns.
You got games? You do got games.
Not the type to visit Eugene Terrace for no reason. Is there something I can help you with?
Meet gold first, red later. Emotional stake becomes higher. So I only need to feel into this. I need to feel into this for a complete retelling of this story. What is the thing that makes yellow click? I don't think the story in Lantern Rite conveys as well. What is the thing that makes yellow click and finally is okay with letting go of her individualistic life and become one with Zebai again. What would be the good source for this? What has Traveler been able to show her during the day of just going together?
Even though we confer from Shanling. Wait.
Like in the existing story, can you come up with a reason how or why?
Because the ancient people of Chenyu Vale migrated there from the chasm area.
The chasm?
This part is the thing that still stunned me from last night. After completing the story last night, I just tossing and turning in my bed trying to think of a better version. I think I almost figured everything out. It just needs a little bit more. So until people can help me with that, I'm just going to try to retell a version of the story that I would really like.
Artifacts in the chasm area. These artifacts were then entrusted to Shigu Antiques.
When the Traveler goes to the art antique exhibition with Zhongli
We suspect something happened during the
and find the different antique items, Zhongli has posed a particular interest in one of the jade fragments. This is still from the quest, and asked Traveler to go with him to appraise it. After the purchase, Traveler holds on to the fragment and is transported to somewhere dark and ominous. This is when Traveler meets the blue fragment of Zebai. Similar to in the story, Traveler will hear the counting of prime numbers.
Pharmacy to get some help. Why don't you come with me to check up on her? At this point, you seem
3, 5, 7, something, 11, 13. And when the Traveler looks around, there is nothing. There's still darkness. The Traveler calls out, and this is partly because I like it. It's partly fan service, but I think it would make it a nice touch for the story. A hand reached out and put on the Traveler's shoulders. The Traveler's eyes widen at first, but then look back to see a Zebai with blue eyes. "Are you lost?" she asks. Traveler would say, "Yes, I'm lost. I am in this space that I don't know where. I do not know how to get out." This from Zebai was say something like, "I don't know if I don't know how the way out from myself, but maybe if you follow that bit of light at the end of the tunnel, it can help." And then everything from darkness. This is part of storytelling. It flickers a little bit. As the Traveler looks at the light, everything around goes from darkness to the redness of the cataclysm. The Traveler sees a glimpse of the burning nation of Langan as a heavenly... They don't want to reveal it yet, but something comes down from the sky. It's later revealed to be a heavenly nail. And then it comes back to darkness. The Traveler, after the Traveler is overcome by shock, the darkness settles in again and Travelers hear a little bit of sobbing sound and looks over to see the blue Zebai is currently crying as she sees that scene. The Traveler tries to comfort her, but she says something along the line of, "Keep following the light over there and you will be able to get out of here." She walks away and she keeps counting the prime numbers. We're not gonna fall into the trap of Genshin dialogue to over-explain things, but the intention that the viewer, perceptive people can pick up on is that she is counting numbers and she is doing arithmetic, she's doing math to distract herself from the pain of the past that's still constantly haunting her. There's nothing in this prison for her to do rather than reliving her own memory from the past. So already we're starting off strong. The blue Zebai disappears into the darkness and Traveler have nothing to do but reflecting on the moment together and then continue to the light to get out. So immediately, that is a way stronger hook into the Zebai quest than just casually meeting her. She's a quirky person that counts numbers and likes math, and then yeah, go that way. There is emotional stake in here.
Then let's head there now.
I finished the quest, yes, and now I am in the process of trying to rewrite it. Is that why she split herself to escape? She is split by Isterov to preserve herself. It's law implication. It does not really matter as much to me, the reason she split. And I'm trying to have a story that is interesting enough and it's heart-wrenching, it's worth experiencing. So everything afterward is gonna be somewhat similar. We talk to Zhongli again, and yep, that's Zebai. One part of her is currently being locked in the prison near the moon, the reflection of the moon. And the other two parts, we have to talk and convince them to come here on Lantern Rite night so that when the prison is broken, Zebai can re-emerge as one. The next thing I would change, however... Hello Kenji, welcome to the stream. We're currently in the middle of trying to rewrite the Lantern Rite quest. So the next thing that I want to change, I want us to meet the Golden Eye fragment first. The reason being very simple. The Golden Eye fragment, our interaction with her seems a little bit more fun and tamed and not as emotionally charged as our interaction with the red fragment. So I want to save the red fragment for later for better climax building.
Happy Lantern Rite.
Hello Michael Bates, welcome into the stream. So we meet Gold. I'm not going to change too much about the fact that Zhongli started out talking to her. And we see a little bit of her telling Zhongli that, yeah, I don't want to remerge into Zebai. I am my own self-individual. And I've forgotten the past. I want to just enjoy things in general. And when Zhongli is about to be gone, we see a glimpse of the disparity between her personality, the golden one. Wait, don't you want to make me a different contract? That line to me screams that even though she kind of puts up a front, she kind of secretly wants to become one with Zebai again. How's Zebai so far? Broken or mid? She is exactly as strong as Flint and Nefer. And in terms of combat, however you judge Flint and Nefer is how you judge the Zebai. For a similar amount of 5 stars pulled, Zebai team is as strong as Flint and Nefer team. Can you get the outfit now or not yet? Which outfit?
And to have her rest for 2 days.
So she's getting worse? That isn't the news I was hoping for.
It's just a precaution. Based on an earlier conversation with her, It seemed more like a fixation than anything else. She hasn't lost her mind.
That's right. When we asked about it, she kept insisting.
So let me continue with my train of thought regarding the gold fragment. We are gonna take the gold fragment to tour around Liyue for the day. And during the part, it's all gonna happen similar to what has happened in game. We can meet Yunjin and talk about opera. We see her understanding of poetry and her understanding of the past, her passion for storytelling. Then, at the end of the day, the traveler and the golden fragment of Zebai is sitting down at Xiangling's place to have dinner. The traveler asks if the day has been fun for her and has it been able to convince her that she would want to merge into Zebai again. She disagrees, saying that no, I mean, today it's fun and all, but it keeps solidifying for me that I want to be an individual self. Like, who cares about the thing that is called Zebai anymore? All our fragment, all our 3 deadly selves has been separated for long enough that I don't even feel any appreciation for the past anymore. Traveler is troubled by this and say something along the line of, yeah, I think the past still wet you down somewhat, right? You keep telling stories about the past, and every of our interaction, you keep bringing up Langan, the nation from the far past. You suddenly still cling on to the past, at least for a little bit. The gold fragment of Zebai denies. No, I think you must just read things wrong. And at that moment, the crazy girl that we later know is possessed by the red Zebai shows up to Xiangling's establishment and start making a ruckus about the moon. We are changing the order of things a little bit. The golden Zebai, there's a look of recognition in her eye, but she just takes an excuse. Yeah, alright, you guys go deal with the troublesome girl over there. I'll just be gone. If there's anything, I will contact you later. Don't worry about it. Traveler is defeated because he or she cannot convince the gold fragment of Zebai. But now there's a fresh problem to deal with, and Xiangling's place is currently being in trouble by the troublesome girl. Alright, let me reach out real quick. So you couldn't get enough in time, you got calling me down, so thinking Get Zebai is actually a good team. Yeah, it's a good team. Omni Games level are available now, yes.
Not often, that's...
But what could have
come back in 2 days.
I suppose that's all.
Of course. If you need anything else, don't hesitate to stop by.
The similar thing applies. We are continuing to help with the troublesome girl, and the ministry or whatever are going to help her to Boo Pharmacy, La Bobo, help her rest. Traveler do not think too much of the troublesome girl and just go back to talk with Zhongli and the Adepti. Then later on, they have a revelation that, okay, Zhongli just says, yeah, I guess the gold Zebai is not agreeing, but we cannot do anything about that. Let's move on to the next fragment, which is the red Zebai. They learn that, oh, the troublesome girl is possessed by red Zebai. So let's go ahead and confront her. The confrontation, I'm going to keep it largely similar, but just have a little bit more serious tone, rather than just having an Adepti wanting to plant main at Shan Yun's abode. I have not thought of anything else, but maybe we can think of something that's more thematic. At that part, when the traveler is about to confront the red Zebai, all the adepti are also gathering around, just in case there's something happen. That's an important thing here. Xiao will remark that, this red or this the entity seems more strong than I expected. At that point, everyone will just believe that he's talking about Red Zebai. I sense the presence to be doubly strong as what you would describe her adaptor ability is. So be careful when you confront her. You sure you don't want us to come close? Something along the line. Setting up for the future. Traveler says, yeah, I think I'm okay. Shan Yun says, I think Traveler can handle it. So Traveler goes to confront the Red Zebai, and everything will go on similar to how the quest has done it. I want the challenge that Red Zebai poses for Traveler to be a bit more challenging. It's not just about running, but maybe make it so that the path is...
As for the other text, instead of regular poetry...
there are danger among the path. I basically want the minigame to be not as trivial.
Well, looks like it's almost time for the... There's an usher at the harbor who will lead... Not at all. Plus the exhibition is being... As far as I know, it's been a long-time goal of hers to hold a cultural exhibition.
Any non-league UA character in the quest? No.
Have a great time. After seeing the picture you brought,
you're hard at work even during...
After we're done with the challenge,
you haven't changed one bit,
and meet again with the Red Zebai, I want her to be a little bit more stubborn.
That's all. Alright, I should get going.
As one challenge is not able to fully convince her, she goes into a rage. Says something about, you just done with the challenge because you're lucky. I don't think you're worthy of learning about the trouble that I am plagued with. Until this day, you would never understand. And she will start to raise her sword at the traveler, provoking the traveler to combat with her. Once again to prove themselves. And in that moment, as the Red Zebai raises her sword,
Show me your prescription.
there's a reveal, a ching, sword clashes. The golden Zebai, the gold eye Zebai, is blocking the sword for the traveler. In the scene, there is now both the gold Zebai and the red Zebai. Now, why do I consider this good for storytelling? I think the gold Zebai and the red Zebai have history with each other. They know each other. I mean in the quest. They have history with each other, they know each other, and their words in exchange to each other could be more meaningful than just someone unknown, like the traveler talking to the Red Zebai. And during the conversation between Gold and Red, there is more opportunity to reveal information about themselves than just opportunity for the Red Zebai to someone who has reputed herself to be someone just keeps to herself and don't think other people can help. there's definitely more opportunity for the gold and red to talk with each other. Yeah, this is the past, I understand. But throughout the day with the traveler, I've been secretly following as he also confronts you, the gold says to the red. And I think my reservation at the beginning, I think he is determined and is capable of helping. Also, our old friend Zhongli is wishing for us to emerge into one again. This is a chance in a lifetime. And then the cutscene regarding the bypass will play at that moment. I think that is more earned. And it creates a more emotional depth for the story at that point. Ziba is okay now. Well, not okay is an exaggeration. She's kind of a little bit still because her different self and different personality is still emerging. It is not shown in any of the gameplay or day-to-day combat whatsoever, which I think is a missed opportunity. But even after she becomes one, she's still having trouble to make sense of all the memories of her three selves and which personality to show. She's schizo, yeah. She is one entity, but she's like Layla. You're getting 125k with C0, R0 Zubai and Bina and C6 Ula and Goro. Is that reasonable? Your best says kind of cope on Bina. That sounds reasonable. With a better set, you would be able to get 130, and that's actually the number I have. I have around 135 to 140 for that team, and from sheet to gameplay is usually around a 10% difference. Slime brain, pyro slime, animal slime, yeah. I'm hoping to make a draft for the story of Rewrite Lantern Rite. And let's see if I can email that to Sorosness, which is the content creator I've just watched the video of. I know that she likes story and likes to critique story. I think that if she's done the Lantern Rite quest, she will be similarly disappointed in it. I wonder if there's a chance for us to just sit down and discuss ideas together. 165 is level 1 talent, normal attack talent, 6 skill talent, and 5 burst talent. And finally, the last idea I have for the climactic return of Zubai is somewhat similar to the last year Lantern Rite, where there is a cutscene, but there's still something that the Traveler and Hotel last year had to do. I think it's perfectly reasonable for they to do something like there's a cutscene where everyone wish on the Lantern Rite moment, and releasing lanterns into the sky. Both of the golden and the red Zubais are standing next to the Traveler getting ready, and Zhongli is also there. The moment has arrived, and this is when the blue fragment of Zubai is going to be released from the prison. They hold on to the jet pieces of the antique that Zhongli has purchased from the antique shop earlier, and they all get transported into the dark space of the prison, now crumbling. They hear the sound of the bluesby is still counting and trying to suppress her emotion. And now, as the space rumbles in ruins, it flickers between total darkness and the past of when the cataclysm happens. Actually, it's not the cataclysm, it's when the Heavenly Nails is cast down. I'm getting things messed up. And we have to navigate that to rescue the bluesby out of there. It's gonna be a short segment, but I think it's meaningful enough. They just need to create a domain that has a path kind of dwindling between the houses on fire and people are crying. I'm not entirely sure how it'll go, but it could be a combat sequence where both the golden Zebai and the red Zebai just occasionally come in to help, doing one ability to help Traveler, and then we reach the blue Zebai and a brief cutscene plays where all of them merge into one. What's that glider? The Xbox glider. Can Iluga interact with Lantern? I can check. Looks so bad on her, I'm glad. I'm treating her like how Reverse is treating her. Let's see if he can interact with the Lantern. Level Lantern Rite Foundry Rite. I mean, that's exactly what I was doing. I would really want to bounce this idea with more people and has input on that, because I think this could be a fun project to do. He can. Not quite support Avengers on this account. Yeah, kind of. I don't have Llama. And Zebai is not exactly a support. One boy 8K defense, let's go! Only Llama has quest locked to her with no 4-star. I think Linear is likely a character that can also do the Frost Moon quest, maybe. Are there actually Knights of Favonius characters, Knights of Favonius interaction in here? Possibly, right? And it's likely that Varka is the only character that can interact with things on the map that is Knight of Favonius related, and maybe only Nicole is the one that can interact on the map. things that are wish related. I think they're probably gonna do something like that. It's a fun little things that we can discover in the open world. I like that. Is there any update on linear? There is no update so far. Alright, let's continue to put the quest on the background as we watch some other video. A sword in adversary requires the presence of Boreas. I see. That's gonna be a Vanka thing then.
Ah, here for the exhibition? I can take you aboard. After you.
Let's look at Meansleaf. I want to check out some long video.
Whoa! Look at all the antiques on this ship! It's almost too much to take in!
Did I watch the giant video? I don't think I've watched it, right?
He calls himself kind of a bad guy. So someone who lives for the thrill of a fight and the chaos that follows. But as a child, he was nothing like that. He was scared, uncertain, and hesitant. Yet deep down, he dreamed of becoming an adventurer like the heroes his father used to tell him about while they fished together. His name is Ajax, a name his father gave him after a hero from one of those tales. And although he's a man of many names, it was this one name that unknowingly tied him to a destiny no one would ever wish upon their worst enemies. Ajax grew up in Moripusok, a small seaside village in Snezhnaya. Life there was cold and quiet. Every morning, he and his father would carve holes into frozen lakes to go ice fishing. It was slow, patient work, the kind that could take hours. But to Ajax, it was his favorite hobby. As they waited for a fish to bite, his father would fill the silence with stories, tales of adventure, courage.
I think it's just a little interaction in the open world that you can do, like the lantern for Flint and Ilua, and the special interaction for Aino and Inefa. Also special interaction for Llama in the open world.
And
it's probably something like that for
and as his father
Valka.
spoke, Ajax would imagine himself as the hero. A boy standing against monsters, exploring places untouched by man, sailing a ship into a whale's belly, and fighting a dragon for 7 days. These stories became his world. They made him dream bigger than his small frozen village could hold. So here we have a child, innocent, curious, full of wonder, and completely unaware of what fate has in store for him. He has no idea that the path he's dreaming of will lead him somewhere no child should ever go. And that the...
Have you seen the little lanterns in the open world? And you can try interacting with them with Flint or Ilua. Or there are special NPCs in the open world that you can only talk to using Llama. There are different NPCs in Nasha Town that you can interact with using either Yahoda or Nefer's skill to extract information from.
The stories he loved so much would one day become his reality, but twisted into something far more terrifying. So how did this child...
The flute, the stop motion, where's that?
And fighting a dragon dream bigger than his small frozen... Sailing a boy standing against monsters, exploring dreams and somewhere one day become his reality, but twisted into something far more terrifying. So how did this child, this wide-eyed boy from a frozen fishing village, become one of the most dangerous men in all of Teyvat? Unlike what most people might think, Ajax wasn't born a combat prodigy. Rather, his strength was born in darkness, shaped by some things no one should ever have to face. And it's a story he's never told anyone. When he was 14, Ajax ran away from home. Life in a small, quiet village felt dull and suffocating at times. So one day, he grabbed a short sword, packed a small bag of bread, and set out into the snowy wilderness. But the wilderness of Snezhnaya is no place for a child.
Colomida has NPC passive? I don't think so.
Wolves and bears, until he slipped, falling into a deep crack in the earth. This is where his story truly begins. Down there, in the endless dark, he came face to face with something beyond comprehension.
the Abyss. It was a place that warped time and space, where normal rules simply didn't apply. It's said that in that moment he encountered the all-devouring narwhal and somehow awakened it. The image of that creature, a massive cosmic whale, would later become a symbol in his fighting style, showing up in his attacks.
Introducing ClickUp Super Agents, the world's first AI agents that natively
That whale would haunt him for the rest of his life, and it has shaped his fate in ways he doesn't yet understand. In the Abyss, he met a mysterious swordswoman named Skirk. During those 3 months, she became his master, teaching him how to survive the Abyss and how to turn his restless nature into pure destruction. Ajax, the child who once dreamed of adventure, found himself in a place that granted his wish in the worst possible way. He spent 3 long months in the Abyss, but when he finally escaped and was found by his worried family, only 3 days had passed in the real world. When they found him, he was clutching his now rusted short sword, the same one he had left home with. But the boy who returned wasn't the same. That adventure marked the end of his childhood and the beginning of something else entirely. From that day on, Ajax, the boy was gone. In his place stood a fighter molded by darkness and bloodlust. The Abyss had changed him. He was now confident, reckless, and obsessed with battle. Conflict became his comfort, and wherever he went, chaos seemed to follow. His father, once relieved to see his son alive, soon realized something was terribly wrong. Ajax started picking fights with everyone in the village. What used to be a quiet fishing town turned into a constant battleground. Eventually, one of those fights nearly turned
Goku in it.
Left with no choice, his father handed Ajax over to the Fatui, hoping discipline would calm him down. But instead, the soldiers found themselves beaten by a child. That raw power caught the attention of Pulcinella, the 5th of the Fatui Harbingers, who recruited Ajax into the Fatui under the guise of punishment. From there, his hunger for combat only grew, feeding on every victory until he rose to the ranks and earned a title feared across Teyvat. Child, Tartaglia, one of the 11 Fatui Harbingers. But becoming Tartaglia was far from his end goal. To someone who sought to conquer the world, this was but a tiny
It's over 9,000!
Now you might be wondering, why does he have so many names? All the Fatui Harbingers take their titles from Commedia dell'arte, an early form of Italian theater that spread across Europe between the 16th and 18th centuries. These plays used exaggerated, recognizable stock characters, each defined by a specific name, costume, and personality. Tartaglia is one of those classic characters. His name literally means the stutterer, and he's usually portrayed as a clumsy but endearing civil servant who's intelligent, yet constantly tripped up by his own speech impediment. He gets frustrated easily, but he's not evil. He represents the lower working class, someone trying to hold their own in the world despite chaos and miscommunication. The Tartaglia mask first appeared in Naples around 1610 and became especially popular by the late 17th century. So Tartaglia is Ajax's harbinger title, but he's also called Child. Child is actually an Old English title for a young nobleman who hasn't yet earned knighthood. In Genshin, Child is the codename Ajax goes by and the persona he presents to the world. It fits perfectly. He's the youngest and lowest ranked Fatui Harbinger, still climbing towards something greater.
Do you see WSB?
May have chosen this title for him.
Yeah, I've seen that. It was funny. The Iluga doesn't come for a long time.
To reflect her belief in his
I showed that on stream earlier.
He's a warrior still in the process of earning his knighthood within her cause. But her cause is what exactly? A god with no love left for her people, and a nation that only follows her out of fear or hope that they'll survive her rebellion against Celestia. And standing in the middle of it all is her youngest harbinger. Before the mask, before the titles, his name was Ajax. To understand why that name is so important, we need to talk about the Battle Pass. Yeah, you heard that right. In version 4.0, Genshin released a new set of Battle Pass weapons.
640 pulls for C6.
Battle of the Fjords.
And C5 survived before him, yeah. And then after he got the C6 Ilua, the Ilua keeps coming. I think it's C12 Ilua by the end of it, which is 6 more constellation From C5 Zubai to C6 Zubai.
Pieces of lore in the entire game. Because, of course, the sugar daddy.
You haven't seen that? Alright. Here we go. Alright, so far C1, C0 Zubai, C0 Ilua. C1 Zubai, C1 Ilua. Okay, not too bad, I guess. It's kind of rough. C2 Zubai, C1 Ilua. C3 Zubai, C1 Ilua. C4 Zubai, C1 Ilua. And now the Iluas are coming. So that was C5 Zubai with C4 Ilua. Good night enough. Sleep well. And finally, this is a C7 Ilua, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's C7. And now the Ilua keeps coming. Ilua. 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 That's a C12 Ilua by the end. Hell, it's hella cold.
Game is so important, we need to talk about the Battle Pass. Yeah, you heard that right. And one of them, Battle of the Fjords, quietly held one of the most important pieces of lore in the entire game. Because, of course, the sugar daddy character has the pay-to-win backstory. The story of the Ballad of the Fjords opens in the far north, a land of ice, fjords, and biting wind. The glaciers there are always moving, cracking apart and coming back together, like the land itself is alive. It's
C6 Ilua, but only C0 Zubai. That's very lucky.
Begins. Not the Fatui harbinger we've come to know and love, but the ancient hero he was named
On
after.
average, for one limited 5-star, you get to around 2 4-star, 2 to 3 4-star constellation.
Etched deep into Snezhnaya's history. The ballad tells us that Ajax discovered a hidden country of gold and white stone beneath the ice, an underwater kingdom that still glowed like dawn even after it fell. That golden city is believed to be Hyperborea, an ancient civilization near Snezhnaya once home to the Frostmoon Scions and the Snowland Fae before it was lost to the depths after a celestial nail struck the land. Some legends say Ajax sailed into the belly of a whale. Others say he fought a dragon across the frozen plains for 7 days and 7 nights. Deep within Hyperborea's ruins, he found the dragon's treasure, an endless sea of gold. But Ajax wasn't tempted. He knew gold was the root of calamity, so he took only what he needed to cure his sick friends. For all his heroism though, at heart he was just a boy. A boy who fished under frozen lakes, who fell into a lost kingdom, and who fell in love. Her name was Snegurochka, and like every great myth, their love ended in tragedy. They were torn apart by the wicked tricks of the changelings. The story fades out with a simple line.
It was honestly worth it. During this give your account too much.
Like one does it. Because I believe the legend isn't finished, and Ajax's story is still being written somewhere else in the world. In real life, the name Ajax actually comes from Greek mythology. Ajax the Great was a powerful warrior in
Fit the system for 4-star, yeah.
only to Achilles. He also had a brother named Teucer. But after losing a contest for Achilles'
All put
armor,
4-star
he
into
fell
the shop.
madness and took his own life out of shame. Meanwhile, Ajax the Lesser was proud and arrogant. During the fall of Troy, he angered the gods by disrespecting Athena's temple. When he boasted that not even the gods could touch him, Poseidon struck his ship and drowned him. So let's talk about the kind of hero the legendary Ajax in Genshin was meant to be. His story is about change, restraint, and the courage to face what lies beneath the surface. His journey into the whale's belly and his fall into the sunken kingdom follow a familiar fictional pattern. A hero descends into the unknown, confronts the depths, and returns changed. But Ajax isn't a hero who wins through strength alone. When he finds the dragon's endless treasure hoard, he doesn't claim it. He takes only enough to save his friends, knowing that greed is a true cause of calamity and ruin. That choice defines him as a hero who resists temptation instead of giving into it. His love for Snegurochka and losing her through the tricks of the changelings adds another layer to his story. In real-world mythology, a changeling is a supernatural being, often a fairy or spirit, left in place of a human child stolen by the Fae. The real child is taken to the fairy realm, while the changeling is an illusion or imitation meant to deceive the parents. Changelings represent themes of identity, deception, and substitution, beings that look real but aren't, blurring the line between truth and illusion. The love story of Ajax and Snegurochka is a tale of separation and betrayal, where
real quick, is it still the same Ajax?
even love is tested by divine interference.
Is it still Chart? How come I never come across something like this?
While these experiences certainly shape him, the core of who Ajax is never shifts. Every battle, every loss, every act of restraint only brings him closer to his true self. Someone who defies fate, challenges the divine, and holds onto what's real in a world built on illusion and control. Someone worthy of the title, the Third Descender. One who can transcend Tevat's laws and change the fate of the world. But
how is he the third descender? He was born in this world, right?
Ajax isn't where his story ends. In fact, it might not even be his only one. Because deep in the frozen myths of the far north, another name begins to surface. Saarelainen, a figure whose
the Ajax from the myth. Got it.
So
okay.
Closely, many believe they were one and the same. In the finale of Fontaine's Archon quest, Skirk dropped one of the biggest lore bombs in Genshin's history. For the 3 years Genshin had been around, we'd never heard anything quite like this before. The 7 Archons of Tevat each possess a Gnosis, a divine relic that connects them directly to Celestia, granting the power to govern their nations and serving as proof of their status as one of the 7. It's implied these Gnosis
where's this animation coming from?
Of the Archon War roughly 2,000 years ago, taking the form of ornate chess pieces. But in the Fontaine Archon quest, Skirk revealed something no one expected. Thousands of years ago, the Gnosis were forged from the remains of the Third Descender. A Descender is a being who exists outside Tevat's laws, and they aren't recorded in Irminsul.
And that's the Ajax, the Third Descender?
The Heavenly Principles themselves as the first, and the Traveler is the fourth. When Rukkhadevata was erased from Irminsul, everyone forgot her. Everyone except the Traveler. Because as a Descender, they're beyond the system, so the laws of Tevat don't apply to them. The term Descender usually refers to special outlanders, beings from outside Tevat, basically aliens. But now we have reason to believe that even someone born in Tevat can become one too. That brings us to the Hymns of the Far North, a book series that shocked the Genshin community. And that's an understatement.
Been thinking on that one. I see it.
Should have been saved for an Archon quest, but in true Genshin
I probably
fashion,
missed that scene.
It was hidden in optional lore items instead. These books don't grant you any special powers, but they offer something better: a glimpse into the story long before the main quests actually.
Third Descenders love against Her Majesty. Yeah, I think so.
North introduces a man named Saarelainen. A cheerful, kind-hearted youth described as noble-born, gentle, and brave. He traveled across the forsaken Isle of Hisi Island and into the mist-shrouded lands of Pojola, where he sought to win the heart of Pakaisuko's daughter, a maiden of peerless beauty. Pakaisuko agreed to their marriage, but only if Satalainen opened the gates of Pohjola for him. Despite knowing that he would be punished severely by Pitkamunen for doing so, Satalainen willingly opened the gates so that Pakaisuko would not send his daughter to do it instead. After Satalainen entered Pohjola, he was punished by Pitkamunen, who carved him into 7 pieces. The young and pure daughter of Pakaisuko would never again be wed. You might be thinking, okay, but how is this life-changing lore? I don't even recognize any
the
of
Battle
these
Pass
names.
lore.
And fair enough, but you're not getting baited, I promise. Because here's the thing. In Teyvat, fairy tales aren't just stories. They're how people protect the truth. When history risks being erased from Irminsul or tampered with, Teyvatians learn to hide real events behind allegory and fairy tales. So, if we read the hymns of the far north through that lens, not as fiction, but as a coded record, an entirely different story starts to reveal itself. An entirely different story starts to reveal itself. Ajax and Satalainen share so many parallels that it's highly likely they are the same person. Ajax took only enough gold from the dragon he slew to heal his sick friends, while Satalainen was called upon by the Frost Moon Scions to heal wounds and cure disease. Ajax's lover was Snegurochka, which means snow maiden in Russian. In real-life folklore, she's often depicted as a girl made of snow who comes to life, sometimes the daughter of spring and winter, or a snow spirit. In most versions, she can't love until her heart awakens, and when she finally does, she melts away, undone by the warmth of human affection. Satalainen's unnamed lover mirrors Snegurochka's story. She's the daughter of Pakaisuko, whose name comes from the Finnish Pakasuko, meaning Father Frost, the same figure known in Slavic tales as Snegurochka's grandfather. In Genshin's context,
I think there is still this figure from the trailer that we do not know anything of.
That the stolen face still yearn for the frosts of old. That the darkness and cold with their blades. I hear that the stolen face still yearn for the frosts of old.
Is this the Frost Maiden?
While the Fatui look to the stars above.
Pakaisuko could represent the Belitsar, the first Cryo-Archon and ruler of the Fae. His successor, the Tsaritsa,
This is about
inherited
Chide
his
and the
divine
Todisenda.
throne, making it possible that the first Cryo-Archon was her father. In that case, Snegurochka, the snow maiden of legend, would be none other than the Tsaritsa herself. Now there's one last piece to decode. Pohjola. In Finnish mythology and the Kalevala epic, Pohjola is a legendary land in the far north.
It could be a
Depending
possibility
on the story,
too.
it's described as a frozen kingdom full of danger and magic, or even as a realm that borders the underworld. In other words, Pohjola can be wilderness, enemy territory, or the boundary between life and death itself. The land is ruled by Louhi, a powerful witch and queen who opposes the heroes. She's known for setting impossible challenges, especially when they try to win her daughter's hands or claim the Sampo, a mysterious object said to bring fortune and balance to the world. In Finnish myth, the Sampo is a divine mill that endlessly produces grain, salt, and gold. In Genshin, that same concept appears as a Sampo mill, an ancient Hyperborean relic built to harness and reshape energy, once a machine of creation, now a lost legend tied to the Frost Moon Scions. Louhi herself is associated with cold, disease, and death, sometimes called the mother of wolves and ailments. Her cunning and power make her a constant antagonist in the Kalevala. Side note, her story feels eerily similar to the Night Mother from The Pale Princess and the Six Pygmies. In
Belisam
Genshin,
means
Pohjola
Father
is where
Frost and
Satalainen
Sar is
was
masculine
killed and
term,
dismembered,
and we
his
know the
body
previous
returned into the
Cryo-Archon was a male.
Gnosis. In myth, Pohjola is the border between life and death.
Sarissa is
suggesting
feminine.
Genshin, it may also be the boundary between Teyvat
Sarissa X-Charge
and the
ship,
abyss,
XDD.
or Teyvat and outer space. At some point in time, the Belitsar had intentions to overthrow the divine order imposed by Celestia, a plan that may have been in motion far longer than anyone realized. Before the cataclysm 500 years ago, he was influenced by the Conrian monk Rathvangi, who shared his desire to defy the heavenly principles. Opening the gates that separate the abyss or outer space from Teyvat would have definitely drawn the heavenly principles' attention, the being known to the Frostmoon Scions as Bitgamunin. So, how should we interpret the lore revealed in the Hymns of the Far North now? Volume 2 of the Hymns of the Far North introduces a man named Satalainen, also known as Ajax, a cheerful, kind-hearted youth described as noble-born, gentle, and brave. He traveled across the forsaken Isle of Hisi Island and into the mist-shrouded lands of Pajola, where he sought to win the heart of the Belitsar's daughter, a maiden of peerless beauty, the Tsaritsa. The Belitsar agreed to their marriage, but only if Ajax opened the gates of Pajola, the border between Teyvat and the Abyss, for him. Despite knowing that he would be punished severely by the heavenly principles for doing so, Ajax willingly opened the gates so that the Belitsar would not send his own daughter to do it instead. After Ajax entered Pajola, the heavenly principles punished him, carving him into 7 pieces and transforming his body into the gnosis of the 7 archons. The young and pure daughter of the Belitsar, the Tsaritsa, would never again.
If you're over 40 and want to shock everyone who hasn't seen you in months, start the winter military.
Be wed. But here's where things
So that's the Russian title for Caesar Emperor, and Tsaritsa is the female version of that?
Ajax might be running straight into a trap. In Teyvat, names are powerful. They can bind a person to a fate that's already been written, predestined.
Okay.
So before we can grasp what the story
that's what they hammer a lot in with the Durin story actually. Name matters.
Means for our child, we first need to understand how fate actually works in Teyvat. Now, this next part comes from what we currently know in Genshin's lore, but with a bit of theorizing. The exact mechanics of fate in Teyvat aren't clearly explained in-game, but this is the simplest and most logical way to make sense
of that was me.
To work. Every person's fate in Teyvat is decided by a single system, which we'll call the fate system, and it requires 3 components: Irminsul data, a constellation, and a name. The Irminsul is the world's database. Everything that's ever happened, every person who's ever lived, every event that's ever occurred is stored inside it. The ley lines act as Irminsul's veins, carrying those memories through the land like data through a network. What flows through the ley lines eventually returns to Irminsul, which stores it as the official truth of history. But that truth can be edited, as we saw when Nahida erased Rukkhadevata and the world itself forgot she ever existed. But Irminsul doesn't just record information. It also projects it. The proof of its work is right above us, the constellations that fill Teyvat's sky. Way back in version 1.1, Scaramouche warned us that the sky is a lie. And years later, he was very correct. Oh, Scaramouche, gone but never forgotten, and his words will continue to haunt us. The stars above Teyvat aren't real stars at all. They're projections of data, fate records from the Irminsul written into the sky. We actually saw proof of this in the Unreconciled Stars event when meteorites fell over Mondstadt. Mona discovered that those meteorites came from someone's constellation, carrying the will and the ambition of a man named Leonard. And they weren't ordinary rocks. They looked identical to the fruits of the Irminsul tree, crystalline nodes that store the world's memories. This means that stars we see in the night sky are really Irminsul fruits, projected upward as constellations. Each one holds the data of a person's life, their past, their present, and future, written into Teyvat's fate system. Every being born in Teyvat is assigned what we call a fate record. When a person dies, that record isn't erased. It flows back into the ley lines, waiting to be recycled. The false sky is just the visible interface of the system, where each person's record appears as their constellation. So when Mona reads someone's stars, she's literally reading the data of their fate in this world. The final
Right.
key to the system is a name. In
So
Tevat,
if you
a name
have
is
the
link
same
that
name,
binds
you're
your
just gonna
soul
have the
to your
same fate?
record. Think of it like an access key to your constellation. When you live, act, or die, your name updates your
But
story
can
within
people have the
Irminsul.
same
But if
name
a
in this
is
game?
reused, like when Anders' daughter
this
named
world?
her creation Durin after the dragon and Dragonspine, the system connects that new being to an old record instead of creating a new one, forcing them to inherit the same fate. Irminsul decides what happens. The constellation shows what's been written. The name decides
They get the fate point
who
reset.
what happens too. Together they form the system that governs Tevat, every story bound by data, and every soul chained to the stars. So, what kind of fate has Child been bound to?
Is there actually no people in this world that has the same name? Or that few people in this world that has the same name? You would think that this is a more observed phenomenon in this world.
His name is Ajax, the same as the hero from the Ballad of the Fjords and the man known as Satalainen in the hymns of the far north. They share far too many parallels to ignore. In the old legends, Ajax
An NPC
sails into the
in his
belly of
own
a
your
whale
name.
and falls into a lost golden kingdom beneath the sea.
Gotta avoid the fate.
Satalainen descends into Pujola, the frozen land that borders life and death, where he's punished by the heavenly principles and carved into 7 pieces to form the 7 Gnosis. In Child, the modern Ajax falls into the abyss, trains under Skirk, and returns to Tevat with powers that don't belong to this world. Even their imagery connects. Ajax's wailing dragon, Satalainen's ascent into the depths, and Child's constellation, the celestial narwhal, all symbolize the same thing. A dive into the unknown, a test of strength and will against the depths itself. Fittingly, both Ajax, Satalainen, and Child are marked by the number 3, Satalainen as the 3rd descender and Child as the 3rd son in his family. By carrying the name of the hero who defied Celestia and was punished for it, then we already
Kind of
know what
fishing for a connection there.
waiting for our Ajax. Everything about him points toward a fate that ends in sacrifice. If only there were a way for him to escape that fate that's already written in the stars, to break free from Celestia's script entirely. And maybe, just maybe, the only way out is to stop being a part of the system at all, to do the impossible, to become a descender. In Genshin Impact, the term descender doesn't necessarily have to describe a race.
That's
or
nostalgia.
it technically describes a relationship to the world itself. Nahida explains that descenders are beings whose existence is not recorded in Irminsul, meaning they live beyond the system that governs Tevat's laws and memories. So being a descender doesn't exclusively mean you come from space. It means you exist outside the world's database, immune to the edits and rules that bind everyone else.
Right.
So, what if a human...
The Skirk comes from outside, but is still
So
not a
far,
descender.
all available records about Ajax Satalainen indicate that he was a human born within Tevat, not an alien. Nothing in the hymns of the far north or the related Frostmoon Scion texts suggests he came from beyond the false sky. Every account portrays him as a human hero, noble-born and kind-hearted, and we can infer that he transcended his mortal limits through extraordinary circumstances. In fact, certain characters in the lore believed it might be possible for a human to become a descender. One of them is René de Petrichor of Fontaine. After learning about the descenders, he became obsessed with the idea of reaching that same state himself, believing that if a human could ascend beyond Irminsul's control, they might become powerful enough to save others from fate. His belief alone shows that the world of Tevat acknowledges this possibility, that descension isn't limited to beings born beyond the stars, but might be achievable through transcendence, a process I like to call ascending by descending. This is one of the ways I think someone could actually ascend to become a descender, at least in theory. I'll explain. If there's
René is a friend, the creator of Sandrone. Yeah, I remember that.
It's the Spiral Abyss. Every legend that mentions it describes
what's the name of the creator of Sandrone again? I think Alain, right? Yeah, and then René is a friend.
Some call it a dungeon.
Bloom is also from outside, but not a descender, yeah.
Some call it a ruin, and others a gateway. But one thing is certain, the Spiral Abyss doesn't follow the rules of the world above. It's said to have been built by an ancient civilization long before the Archons or Celestia ever rose to power. A massive, inverted city buried beneath the ocean floor, now split into 2 parts. The Abyss Corridor, which connects worlds, and the abyssal moon spire, which leads to the unknown. Inverted City. Keep that in mind. It's a place where even the laws of direction seem to break. Because when you climb the spiral abyss, you're not actually going up. You're going down. The benediction of the abyss reads, "The everlasting whisper of the spiral abyss encourages you to go deeper." But here's the strange part. The deeper you go, the more you climb upward. Each chamber of the spiral abyss takes you higher, closer to the sky, even though lore says you're descending into the depths. How can that be? Well, the world itself might be upside down. Relative to that, every step upward inside the spiral abyss could actually be a descent, deeper into its spiral and closer to the true abyss or outer space below. It's a paradox that's been...
I mean, about that, I think we have seen Teyvat from the moon in recent times, so I'm not sure how that theory still holds.
Hiding in
Ajax is not pronounced the same in Netherlands as national, just like Jesus is different in Spanish. English people don't name their kids this as it's sacred, but it means differently in Spanish. Think of death. Okay.
plain sight since the game's earliest days. The lore describes adventurers who enter seeking treasures and secrets long forgotten, but what they actually find isn't just treasure, it's transcendence. The Spiral Abyss is, in a way, a bridge between planes of existence. The Abyss Corridor connects worlds while the Moon Spire leads to the unknown. That language seems to describe a gate, a structure designed to pass through the layers of reality that separate Teyvat from what's beyond its borders. And that spiral shape, the abyssal moon spire, is a symbol of recursion, a looping motion, an endless cycle of ascending and descending. And in Teyvat, who knows? Everything might be in a loop. The leylines recycle memories, and history repeats itself. When the lore says the abyssal moon spire leads to the unknown, it might mean that literally. The unknown could refer to the space outside Irminsul's and Celestia's control, the domain of the Descenders. If that's the case, the Spiral Abyss could be the gateway between Teyvat's recorded world and the unrecorded beyond, the same boundary that Ajax and the Traveler have both brushed against. To descend through it might not be a fall into darkness at all, but a journey toward freedom. So one way to become a Descender might be through the Abyss, which is why so many beings were obsessed with using it against Celestia. Another possible way for a human to become a Descender might involve the Irminsul itself. Everything that exists in Teyvat, every life, memory, and event, is stored inside it like a global database. When Nahida erased Rukkhadevata, the world forgot she ever existed, proving that reality itself adjusts when a record is removed. And when Scaramouche deleted himself from Irminsul, everyone who knew him forgot him, even though his actions still echoed through history. This technically means a person can exist without a record, and if that state becomes permanent, then maybe there's a way they can step outside Teyvat's system. This process begins with disconnection. A person must sever their identity from the Irminsul database. If a human could erase themselves completely, their story would vanish from history, leaving them as a blank entity that the Irminsul can't track or control. They would no longer be a recorded life, but an entity that the
what is Wanderer considered as now? Because there is no record of Wanderer in Irminsul anymore. Is Wanderer a Descender now? That no one just knows?
Irminsul
is this similar or is this different?
Track or control. They would no longer be a recorded life, but an external variable, something the world can't edit or predict. Wait, this is starting to sound familiar, right? If Scaramouche had his identity erased from Irminsul, wouldn't that make him a Descender too?
Alright, sure.
Well, not exactly. This is just my theory, but here's how I think it actually works.
Okay.
Wander's deletion was a manual edit within the system, a rewrite of data, not an escape or ascension from it. Not to mention, Nahida, who suspected that Scaramouche would erase himself, had already created a backup of his memories, disguised as a fairy tale story. Although the world forgot Scaramouche, his body, his soul, and his consciousness still exists inside Teyvat's framework. Therefore, he's still bound to the same laws of Teyvat. Ajax Satellinen, on the other hand...
Okay, there's so many technicalities to this.
And could have undergone something entirely different.
Does Irminsul record changes that happen to itself? We don't know.
Something that forcibly removed him from Irminsul's jurisdiction altogether.
Maybe you know.
His transformation into the third descender wasn't a simple data edit like Scaramouche's. It was more like a system crash. I'm guessing when he opened the gates of Pajola, he crossed a threshold that erased his entry in Irminsul's memory, not by deletion, but by transcendence. A step further than what happened to Scaramouche. So the logic is this. Wanderer Scaramouche was still within Tevat's system, just missing his file. Ajax Setalainen became something completely external to the system, an unrecordable being.
Sure.
True descender. When Nahida rewrote Irminsul, Rukkhadevata's record was deleted, but her essence still existed within Tevat's system. Her erasure was also an internal system edit, not a transcendence. Rukkhadevata and Scaramouche were erased from within the system. Ajax Setalainen was cast out beyond the system. To truly become a descender, have to leave Tevat's system completely.
Descender requirement is a mystery. It's obviously not power. It is. Hello, Mark Conqueror. Hello to you. Morning to you. It's currently nighttime for me. Scared edited the file. Ajax destroyed the PC. He jumped out of the PC.
To exist in a way that Irminsul can't find, record, or rewrite them. In short, erasing yourself is only the first step. Real descension means going beyond the system entirely, and perhaps that involves a very arduous, very specific journey. Perhaps this is something only humans are capable.
What time is it? It's currently 11 p.m. for me. I'm from Vietnam.
Have our humanity. We will defy this world with a power from
What time is it for you?
That power from beyond is probably something that exists outside Tevat's system entirely. Beyond Irminsul. Beyond the false sky. The power of a descender. Sorry, Wanderer. You know what though? If he wants to become a descender one day, I'll support him. As long as Deez gets to also. If any human could ever become a descender...
Does Wanderer have his own story in Irminsul? Is a story of others that includes the Wanderer? I'm not sure. I wonder what Mona would read if she tries to read Wanderer's fate. It would still be a blank, right? Because there's nothing. This is such a technicality. I don't like that explanation a lot. But it's okay. 11 a.m. Oh, you're exactly 12 hours away from me. Probably in the time zone of Eastern America. 7 p.m. over where you are, probably somewhere India-ish. 9 p.m.'s more so. Well, there are a lot more countries that are in those time zone. Kakashi is 9:30. Oh, with the host of the. If a Wanderer does not have his own story, it's weird. But the Wanderer is definitely not considered a descender. I don't think there's supposedly some kind of explanation to it. 12 p.m. for you and 11 p.m. for Timmy. Gotcha. Yeah, it's noon for you, Aoi.
Already destined for it. The tragedy of Ajax
100% sure of what?
Descender casts a long shadow over everything we know about the Gnosis. According to Nuvalet's vision story, the Heavenly Principles killed Satalainen, and in collaboration with one who came after, presumably the second Descender, used this corpse to forge the seven Gnosis. It was an act of containment. The Heavenly Principles, the creator of Tevat's order, would have every reason to be afraid of another Descender. A being capable of defying the will of the world is an existential threat to a system built entirely on control. The Gnosis formed
the story hints at that as well.
To continue subduing and controlling
Irminsul doesn't have recorded the story of itself.
Skirk's words to Nuvalet reveal the haunting consequence of this act. She recognizes the Gnosis not as gifts of the gods, but as objects tainted with a curse. This curse reflects the same phenomenon seen when
Middle East, India is 9:30 according to Google. Gotcha. Middle East.
And Havria's death turned her people into salt. When gods perish, their will lingers, sometimes warped into something vengeful. If the Gnosis were made from Ajax
11.
body,
Oh, it's 7.
then each one carries part of his lingering pain, his resentment, his grief, his lost love. Ajax
I'll
loved
see you,
the
Aoi.
Saritsa, so much so that he sacrificed his life for hers.
Everything is the plan we Genjutsu in Dotoroi War. If it doesn't record data about itself, means Wanderer never exists in his own story, but live as a side character in other people's story. Sure, why not? What about Traveler?
The Saritsa's
The main thing I want to distinguish is with the Descender title and the other form of erasure from Ilminsul.
plan has always looked like a rebellion against.
Do I play Honkai Star Rail story? I don't keep up with it, but if you want to know something, you can bring it up if it's related to Genshin.
Yeah, but now it's starting to look like something far greater. Her mission to gather all 7 Gnosis might not just be about overthrowing the gods of Celestia, but resurrecting a being who surpasses them. Skirk's words in Fontaine changed everything. The Gnosis, heart of a god, were crafted from the remains of the 3rd Descender. That means the Saritsa is gathering the pieces of a Descender. She would be reassembling the corpse of the 3rd Descender, her lover, her Ajax. And that brings us to Child, our Ajax. In Tevat, names act like keys or references, linking souls to existing fate records in the Irminsul. By carrying the same name as the 3rd Descender, Child has unknowingly tied himself to that same record, to that same doomed story. So if the Saritsa truly succeeds in restoring all 7 hearts of a god, she may need a vessel to contain the spirit of the one they once belonged to. And who better than the man who already bears his name? She might be keeping Child close for a reason. He could very well be the vessel meant to house the revived 3rd Descender. But don't celebrate just yet. Child's destiny is historically doomed to end in sacrifice and tragedy. If 2 Ajaxes can't exist at once, if the record of the 3rd Descender can only inhabit one form, then Child may have to die for the 3rd Descender to return. To the Saritsa, that might not be
that's
a
kind of
sacrifice
implied.
at all, but a reunion. After all, to revive the being she once loved, she might be willing to destroy the man who's just a shadow of him. Personally, I don't want that to happen since I like our Ajax, and I'm sure many of you do and want to keep him alive. But all of this also reframes the Saritsa's ambitions. If gathering the 7 Gnosis restores the body of the 3rd Descender, then she could potentially discover how he became one. By recreating that process, the Saritsa could unlock a way for mortals to
According to Nahida, Irminsul doesn't have a record about Aether, but it has a record about Lumin, yes. But does Irminsul have data about Aether in other people's story? I would assume no. I would assume just not having a record is not having a record. I assume it's very similar to Wanderer, where not having a record is not having a record. And there's no trace of that in other people's story as well. There's a Penacony story in Honkai Star Rail in story Sunday are captured Dream War and all players defeat Sunday, but that war are Sunday mirror war, not real war. Right. And how is that related to Genshin? And we're guys gatekeeping that, not giving up her Gnosis. I'm sure they will revisit that at some point. You may not know who Wanderer is, but what Wanderer affected, I think, still exists. Androni still remember some words of scars as the person. I mean, the 3rd Descender still affects everyone. So I don't think that argument really holds. Wanderer action still affects everyone, yeah. The 3rd Descender actions also affect everyone. What's the difference? I want to know the difference between Descender and whatever Wanderer is right now to Irminsul.
Stand beyond Celestia's control, breaking free from the world's fate system entirely. It would be liberation, granting humanity the same freedom once held by the man who defied the heavenly principles itself. I'm wondering if the Tsaritsa sees a piece of that same spark within the child. The courage, the defiance, the will to fight even when the odds are impossible. But there's one final theory I want to talk about, one that ties everything back to the idea of fate records. What if the first Ajax and Satalainen weren't the same person at all, but rather bearers of the same record within Irminsul's system? Each one in their own time lived out the same story, bound by the same constellation, the same fate written in the stars. The original Ajax could have been the first to bear that record, Satalainen the second, and now our Ajax, child, is the third. Every version inherits fragments of the last, the courage, the tragedy, the pull toward the abyss, and the defiance against the divine. But unlike those who came before him, Child still stands at the crossroads of that destiny. The story may be written, but he still has the power to change how it ends.
So, jeez. Ajax is someone that was born into this world and transcended into being a descender. But apparently, the fate of Ajax is still recorded, of the name Ajax is still recorded into Irminsul. So at which point does that fate ends and that person becomes a transcended into a descender and transcended by that fate? The Sunday part might be related with inside a Dottore simulation. This is the first time Genshin did this. Don't forget we fought Scarab boss 140 plus time in a dream. Yeah. Yes.
Might be the one to finally break the cycle.
If they are doing that though, they will have to end the thread of that thread of the story somewhat relatively soon, because it would be weird if we go through half a year, well, more than half a year of story, and then it's revealed that it's all in a simulation. And that would make all the story that we experience in that half a year kind of just non-canon. Well, it's canon, but it's not affecting the world of Teyvat in any way. They will have to resolve that soon, if that's the case. His footprint still exists? Yes. And
to prove that
so is Traveler's footprint.
Even in a
so I don't think that's relevant.
Stars,
your bike's sorry for disappearing. No worries, Piv.
Human can choose their own fate. He calls himself kind of a bad guy, someone who lives for the thrill of a fight and the chaos that follows. But maybe that spark in him isn't a curse after all. Even if his name truly ties him to suffering and sacrifice, maybe this time it's different. Maybe this time his story won't end in tragedy. Maybe the story of Ajax will be the one about a man who finally broke free from the fate written in the stars and lived to tell the tale.
Wherever she is, as long as I touch my tutu, hers will light up.
So I'm really excited to get out this theory that I've been cooking up over the last couple of days ever since I finished the Act 8 nod-krai Arc Conquest. Kind of the whole point. There are some pieces of evidence that I want.
Maybe the simulation is the fight with Dottore, and when it ended, he just faked a death and let us continue what we're doing. Could be. But, so he's just staying low-key again? Okay.
Want to present, and I'm actually going to use two franchises outside of Genshin, outside of Hoyo, to kind of give you guys an idea of my perspective on the matter. And if somebody on Twitter was able to predict Columbina's entire plotline a month in advance through the movie Interstellar, and I was able to do the same through backpacking Honkai Star Rail's Amphorius with Cyrene and Mem, hopefully these two external media representations can kind of give you an idea of where I'm coming from. So the first point that I want to address here is regarding the scene where Dottore is questioning the Traveler's motives, and he basically presents the argument of a sweet dream. Specifically, he says something along the lines of, if someone was born within a sweet dream and they never felt pain and everything was kind of hunky-dory, which world do you think they would accept as superior, the dream world or the real world? And the...
It's funny. It's kind of related to the Expedition 33 thing.
first thing that connected my mind to this was actually Honkai Star Rail, more specifically Penacony. Now, for the uninitiated, if you don't want to be spoiled on Honkai Star Rail or Penacony, you can jump to this timestamp here. Of course, you're going to miss a big portion of context, but for the most part, I don't want to spoil anyone, so I will let you guys know when you guys can skip ahead. So skip to this timestamp if you don't want to be the land of festivities, also known as the Sweet Dream Paradise. It is essentially a dream world where you go to this hotel, and then in that hotel, you can actually enter a dream world where you can do anything, be anything, nothing in the dream can hurt you, and it's kind of like a luxury opportunity for people. And then when you're done dreaming, you can go back to the real world and leave. Now, this is going to be a gross oversimplification, but basically Sunday, who was the antagonist of Penacony, was going up against us, and basically we ended up challenging them to a fight within this dream sequence, and this is how it played out.
I already know your decision.
I now permit you to gaze into the sun.
These 107,336 stones, the almighty and powerful springs of harmony, are at my disposal. Supreme Tutor, harmonious choir,
Let's try to aura farm a little bit hard there. Hold on. Click a button, we're back.
Creation will be reborn from the remains of the gods.
Danhong?
Danhong?
Radiant spirits, heed my word. Show no mercy!
I don't know about you guys, but
Sure.
if you played Honkai Star Rail and you play Genshin, seeing Sunday fade to white in the same way that Dottore did set me off immediately. Because after that sequence, we say goodbye to all of our friends, we get on our spaceship to leave, or we get on our train station to leave, and it turns out we may have defeated Sunday. However, it soon revealed that we're actually still in a dream. The big plot twist of Penacony was that the land of festivities is a dream world, but what was soon realized was that we entered a dream state the second we entered the Asdana system. So we were in a dream within a dream. So when we defeated Sunday, we actually defeated a dream version of him, and then we kind of carried on with our lives as if we thought we were in the real world and we were doing our thing. But it turns out we had to be pulled out of that second layer dream to defeat the real one.
The golden dream is getting restless. In the coming long nights, I'm afraid you will face many setbacks and witness many tragedies. And in the end, you will only see in black and white.
Sure.
But please believe me, that in that monochrome world, there will be a glimpse of fleeting red. And when you make a choice, it will appear once more.
Arno is the best player. Is this Arno?
What you must do is ponder its significance. Then return to the waking world. That's where we all find our answers.
Okay. And you fight him again.
Don't make the mistake of moving to the wrong place.
Sure.
Have you broken free from the dream of order?
Just real quick. For the people that play Honkai Star Rail, how long does it take us to realize from the moment we defeat this guy in the dream world to when we go back to the real world? The protagonist, the trailblazer of this game. How long does it take? How long do they do the game or the story string us along with that fight sequence? Is that a patch? Is that still within the a patch story? Or something else?
Enough sleeping already. Let's show them a wake-up call.
So that's the first connection that I wanted to make right there. We defeated Dottore in a very similar fashion. It fades to white. We say goodbye to everybody. We kind of get our idea. Everyone's kind of going back home that isn't affected with the curse, and people that were affected with Dottore's curse where they couldn't leave nod-krai are still in nod-krai. So that is the first piece of evidence that I wanted to present. Couldn't leave going back home that isn't affected with the curse, and people that were affected with Dottore's curse where they couldn't leave nod-krai are still in nod-krai. So that is the first piece of evidence that I wanted to present.
You know what? Yeah, the curse thing is still lingering in my mind as something seems to be just out of the blue. Maybe they actually putting it out there for future plot point. Like a few minutes is part of the same story. Got it. Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Fair enough. I think that would be fair. It would be weird if next patch and then a few patches later we carry on doing different things, then it is revisited. I think the Dottore thing will need to be resolved within the nod-krai version for it to make sense any longer than that. If we go to Snatch Nanya and do other things already, then we transport it back to yeah, no, Dottore is still there, we're still in that fight. That'll be weird. That'll be too far out. Hello Cosmic Pegasus, welcome back. We're doing some law stuff. Any dream plot is easy to do a fake ending. See, a lot of games shows anime have done it. No good thing, or unless they do it right. Yeah, they have to do it right.
Here. The second one actually comes from Naruto. So yes, I'm going to spoil a nearly 30-year-old anime that ended, I believe, 10 years ago or so. So if you don't want to get spoiled on that,
you're saying this video, right?
That timestamp of the intentionally using this powerful ocular genjutsu technique to reflect a spell on the moon to create an illusion of the world. So basically, it was a way of using an ocular technique on the moon to trap everybody in an illusion or in a dream state of their world. That's the oversimplification of it, just for context and to save on time. But I realized, I was like, oh my god, Naruto kind of did something like this, where they used the power of the moon, or they used the moon as a catalyst to create this dreamlike state
immediately
in this like trance to kind of win
Giro?
over and make sure it was their way of attaining peace in the world. And so that was another thing that I thought of, where the moon was utilized to create some type of dreamlike state in the world. Which
we're watching some law theory stuff.
External points out of the way, I do want to get into some of the evidence that I want to present for this quest, and we're going to break it down, and I'm going to finally answer that question at the end. So really quick, I'm going to refer to these things as hollows, mainly because Hoyo versus other games, Zenless Zone Zero, has similar looking structures that are called hollows, and for the sake of simplicity, I'm just going to refer to them as hollows, so bear with me on that. But I want to touch up on the quote-unquote animal hollow that we entered with Durin, Albedo, and Wanderer, where the humans that were within that hollow basically had their soul/consciousness replaced with their bodies. So their lifeless bodies were lying on the ground, and every body was paired with an animal who had the soul of that person in them. I think that's very interesting, because looking back on how this whole Archon quest started with Act 7, it started with a red-eyed, blue-skinned lizard walking across the Curatorium of Secrets. Now, I think it's very interesting, or rather, I think it would be very interesting because we never understood the purpose of that animal hollow. It's like, oh wow, this is like a weird experiment that Dottore's doing with humans and animals and swapping their consciousness or whatnot. I think it would be very interesting if Dottore had that same ability, right? He had the Trilunar Authority. What if he was able to transfer his consciousness into that blue lizard who also had red eyes similar to him, and he was able to eavesdrop on Sandrone and company's plans to be able to have countermeasures in play. Basically, what I'm saying is, what if Dottore lost on purpose? He listened to their plan.
All right. Oh, so the immediately was the answer to my question about how long does it take for we to realize that in Honkai Star we're in a dream state. Okay, gotcha. Also, another part of Penacony was hit by Memo Keepers due to knowing it will make them unable to fight him. It's probably just the fight was a simulation. Okay. He found out he cannot find a way to stop Bina from cooking him, so he ended the simulation and is laying low again. That could be a possibility. Yeah. I think that would make sense. Time travel is hard for Dottore. Maybe he's just so genius. He makes effect realistic 3 moon goddess.
Created a counter plan to match their plan. In doing so, I believe that similar to Rerir, similar to Columbina, similar to the Pale Star Edict, Dottore has quite literally orchestrated everything that has happened in Act 7, in Act 8, and what will come after. I think he lost on purpose. And I'll explain my reasons of like, why would Dottore do that? I'll get to that as well. Another piece of evidence that I want to mention, and I think this was very slick of Hoyo to do if in fact it's true, are the loading screens. Typically, we see these loading screens whenever we're going through some type of transition between one scene and another, be it cutscenes or domains or just character swaps or whatever. However, for the first time ever, we had this saving load screen. When I was going through the Archon quest initially,
Fuck! Okay, I see it. Okay. I was just thinking, they kind of do it for different quests. And for Lantern Rite, they have the moon thingy.
typically we see these scenes or saving.
There's the same taking notes! Fuck!
Load screen. When I was going through the Archon quest initially, I thought that was there to kind of indicate to the player, hey, this is a really long quest. We're indicating that if you want to leave, we are saving your progress permanently so you can leave whenever you want to. I think it was basically used as a double meaning. I think it was used to save the player's progress, but I think it was also Dottore harnessing or gathering data on the Traveler, the Traveler's actions, and kind of learning as much as he can about the Descender, because these loading screens typically only happen when Aether and Dottore are in a scene together. I actually went back through the entire Archon quest and I tracked 7 instances throughout Acts 7 and 8 where these loading screens come about. The first time it shows up is when Dottore yoinks the Traveler at the start of Act 7. The second time is when...
Hold on. Let me click a button over here real quick. Alright, good enough. Alright, back here.
Nefer is investigating the Traveler's mind, but before Dottore catches her. The third time is following the conclusion of Act 7 with Aether, and but before Dottore catches her. The third time is following the conclusion of Act 7 with Aether and Columbina kind of going their own separate ways. At the end of Act 7, that leads into Act 8. The fourth time is following the cutscene with Wanderer saving the Traveler. The fifth time is after Wanderer offers his core to Sandrone and she starts working on her world formula. The sixth time is after the cutscene where Columbina sinks to herself in the past. And the final time we see this saving screen is right before the cutscene that we start the Dottore boss fight. Now to put this all into perspective, especially towards the end of the Archon quest with the final boss fight, Dottore literally ushers in this boss fight by saying, "The experiment begins." So that boss fight, in my opinion, was pivotal to Dottore's plans. I don't think Dottore is going to be rank 2 of the Fatui Harbingers, have the highest level of godlike authority, the trilunar authority of Tevat, and just fumble. Some people think that, and obviously it seems like that might be the case, but I also feel like that might be the intent. There are some other things
all right, real quick. Fuck, it makes sense. Okay. I am a follower this theory.
The Archon quest, and some things that I just noticed that kind of set me off. For example, there's that one scene where Dottore mentions to the Traveler, "Oh, I always thought it was a much better strategy to flee than surrender." If Dottore actually did quote-unquote lose or has more up his sleeve, it would seem that he escaped rather than died. Another thing too is I was kind of curious about this. During the boss fight, he ends up losing the iridescent moon marrow, but he still has control over the trilunar authority. I assumed that if he lost one of the moon marrows, then the 3 of them would kind of like mess around and go haywire, kind of like how they did in Luna 3. So I was kind of curious about that too. I was like, if the moon marrow kind of got detached, shouldn't his whole thing kind of blown up in his face at that point? Unless some things were not as they seemed in that fight, like I said. I also think it would be rather foolish for Dottore.
No. You could also argue that in his simulation, it's supposed to function like in real life too. I think that's just the fight gimmick, how it works. Like, his simulation would need to be close resemblance to real life. If he lose, he lose. And if he loses moon marrow, he would simulate like he loses moon marrow in real life.
To see everything
that one I don't agree with 100%.
Used Wanderer to kind of make every little bit of progress that he could. He created his segments through the Wanderer's like puppet operations. He managed to achieve godhood for Scaramouche and Sumeru, and he took that information, and I think he also learned from it. Think about it. Wanderer lost to us because he was stuck in multiple loops of the Samsara.
Wanderer is also... Everything about Wanderer is also erased. So Dottore should not have this information, right?
Cycles, like I think over 160 something or something like that. And I just think it would make sense for Dottore to not make the same mistakes that Wanderer made during his time as Scaramouche during the Sumeru Archon quest. There's the curse situation that never got addressed or brought up again, so that's another thing that's just, like the curse, the whole curse situation, the people that are in nod-krai that are affected by it, that was never resolved, that was never talked about, that's a little weird. One final piece here before I kind of give you guys my answer to that question at the start. Some of you guys might not remember this, but during Sumeru, we actually learned through the Aranara world quest at the end, the NPC Alfonso that was residing in Vimara village later revealed himself to be an informant of the Fatui sent there by the doctor specifically to find and capture Aranara. Aranara are connected to dreams, they're connected to Irminsul, they're connected to their magic, like the Ararakalari, and their ability to kind of manipulate dreams like Vanarana and things of that nature. And if Dottore was basically looking into the Aranara, it seems like he may have been looking into the concept or the potential of creating a real world Vanarana, a real dream-like or a real dream world, if you will.
Sure.
And I think that that's simulation. Kind of what brings everything together for me. So I want to go back to that question that I asked you guys at the beginning.
That was able to hide Wanderer's memories and fake story.
Of Dottore opening up the false sky during his boss fight at the end of the Act 8 nod-krai Archon quest. I think the answer is Dottore knew everything that was going to happen, and he did it so the heroes could pull the moon into Tevat's orbit. Let me cook. Dottore eventually finds out about the false sky through Scaramouche and Piero's planning during the 1.1 Unreconciled Stars event. During the 2.2 Labyrinth Warriors event, we find out that Scaramouche has gone AWOL with the Electro-Gnosis and has fleed Inazuma. During the 3.0 Archon Quest series, Dottore and Scaramouche are working together to attain godhood for Scaramouche to become a god, along with Dottore getting his research. He also reveals to Nahida the false sky, and he makes it out with 2 Gnosis. Between Sumeru and the end of Natland, Mawika breaking the false sky allows some of the Kuvaki, some of the moon fragments to fall into the world, and Dottore's goons yoink it up and decide to go to nod-krai to start researching Kuvaki energy. During that time, he learns about, finds the fragments, and eventually revives Rerir in his attempt to hunt down Columbina. Throughout the nod-krai Archon quest, everyone is put into a false sense of security. Dottore's not around, and at the final moment, he strikes, securing 2 moon marrow and intentionally forcing Columbina to have no other choice but to open a moon gate and hurl herself into the past. I think Dottore did that intentionally on purpose. In the meantime, following
Okay, I think this may be cooking a tiny bit too far, because we did see his reaction on screen to himself when Columbina disappeared. He was angry. I don't entirely think that was intentional.
Act 6 into Act 7, he finds a way to put his consciousness into that blue lizard and infiltrate the Curatorium of Secrets, where he learns about the plan of Sandrone, getting them to 90% of the world formula. However, using Varka and Arlecchino and Nicole, they will have to pull the moon down the last 10% to bring Columbina back into the world. Dottore acknowledges this, and I think his true plan to create a dream world requires the true moon's authority to be in the firmament of Tevat. And I think this would apply for 3 different reasons. Number 1, everyone should still have the curse applied to them within nod-krai. Having the true moon, which is the name of the Archon quest, having the true moon back within Tevat would maybe allow Dottore to have more of a central point of power to to be able to manipulate it based on the fact that he learned, or he should have learned some things about the Aranara during his time in Sumeru through his informants. But ultimately, I think this was all done in a means for Dottore to achieve Descender status. He captures the Traveler, he questions the Traveler, he pokes and prods the Traveler, he gets the Traveler to fight against him, he's gathering all of his combat details, his fighting potential, etc., his motivations, his drive, his will, and I think Dottore, in his attempt to reach Descender status, wants to create a dream world or dream simulation to achieve one of the 4 categories of Descender status, which is your will has to rival the world in one of 4 categories, being able to destroy the world, sustain the world, protect the world, or in Dottore's case, create a dream world, which I wonder
beyond the descent of the world, we can rival the entire world. Okay.
If that would still apply. And because I want to mention this like accurately, I'm just going to read what I wrote here. In the same way that Sandrone used her world formula in conjunction with the Traveler's variable status as a Descender, I believe Dottore did all of this to use the True Moon's authority along with data on the Traveler's decisions and actions to achieve one of the 4 categories to become a Descender, to possess a will strong enough to create a dream world. And I think that is Dottore's ultimate plan. And here's the biggest thing. Here's the biggest kicker. You would say, well, why would he pretend to lose the fight? I think it's to convince the heroes that they're in the real world. I think, similar to Sunday in Honkai Star Rail, being defeated in a dream battle would create the illusion to the heroes, as all of them are right now. Arlecchino just went back home, Wanderer left, Varka's heading back, Varka's writing a letter back home to the troops, and I think everyone is kind of in a false sense of security right now, like, oh, we're gonna sleep well tonight, we did good, Dottore's been defeated, etc., etc. All of our allies are leaving, and the only people that are still in nod-krai are the ones that are implemented or afflicted with the curse, which might make them most susceptible to being warped into a dream world simulation sequence by Dottore. So,
who are affected by the curse? Plains Nephalama. Arlecchino has the curse. Arlecchino has this curse.
I think, you know, like a dream, the curse, which might make them most susceptible to being warped into a dream world simulation sequence by Dottore. So I think, you know, like one of the main reasons of like Dottore looking up at the sky and being like, what? Like, and then like the moon crashed through the firmament. I think he's playing an act. I think he's trying to convince everybody that he's fighting with, oh my God, you're actually about to defeat me. No, how could you? I know he says this loathsome world, which was like an internal monologue for himself. So like, why would he say that internally? Maybe he's like, oh my God, man, like this could have worked out better if the Traveler had just agreed with him. Maybe he wouldn't have had to go throughout with all of this. But because the Traveler opposed him, he's like, oh my God, this is so annoying. Can my plan just work already? And so I think part of his act is convincing the heroes that they're in control, that they had all the right plays, that they managed to get one up on him, despite the fact that he's rank 2, he's the smartest and most ambitious of the Harbingers, and the fact that he had the Tri-Lunar Authority and still managed to lose. I think all of that is well within his plans, well within his calculations, especially with that glitching effect. So clearly something is wrong, and I wonder if it's the fact that we are in a dream state. We are in a dream sequence, we're in a simulation, or hell, Dottore may have created a dream version of nod-krai at this point. All of that is to potentially transcend his fate, become a Descender, be able to leave Teyvat, and be able to kind of manage. Basically, he wants to leave the cave like Xandar won Kuwabara.
The English is the biggest mystery. Yeah, I mean, that clearly signifies that Dottore is still here around, or his plan is still somewhere around.
Experiment on the cosmos and do God knows what. I don't know if he's the progenitor that eventually created Xandar, but...
Okay, so I don't think there's any more points that Motherburst is making more here. I think the thing that I agree the most with is this loading screen. It's clearly conveying something, and that's something I missed during the Archon quest. I did not make that connection. So this is definitely Dottore, a sign for Dottore to be recording things that everyone's doing. However, I think the simulation is probably just for the fight itself, and when the fight is done, the simulation is done, just like Orman said, and he's just laying low. The moon is already down, maybe like he planned, and now he can do more research on that. Then he's good, just laying low. Let the heroes fall into a false sense of security and not look for him anymore. I think that I like that idea, and I agree with that idea. What should I go in this situation? You got Zubai. Alright, hold on. Oh, we're almost at that part. We got Zubai and C6 while my Goro is C5, so should I risk getting him to C6? Guarantee of 65 PD, you'll have C1 double that. That's up to you. So ultimately up to you. Do you have the extra pulls to go until Elua C6? Are you willing to accept the risk of more 5-star? Or will you still have future characters you want to pull for? Soon after this, Elua C6 is about C4. It's around 10 to 15k DPS increase for this team. I know C2 to C6 is around 15, I'll say 10. Yeah. Team from his C5. That's the information I can provide. Zubai C2 is also bigger than 10k DPS increase, so you may just aim for that. Okay, we're good. Who's coming next patch beside Varka? Varka, Flames, Skirk, and Scofield. If you're using DPS Mavuga, it is the best because it's more crit rate. She doesn't need, and she does not have Hex buff. You've been using Varka Sick by now. Just realize something about it. If you use it on Mavuga, but if it's off field, Mavuga on Molani team, she uses scroll, so she needs crit rate. Molani team have Hex buff. You get the buff as well, sure. Is the buff as good as the Mahuiga signature though? Let me check again. Vaka signature. Hakushin, Genshin. What's the passive like? This is the weapon that heavy specs into crit rate, right? Okay. Next speed by 10%. Every time hit the equipment, a normal attack hits opponent, the element skill. Cast the element skill, perform charge attack, gain 1 to 2 stack. For 4 seconds, max 4 stack. This passive is dog shit for Mahuiga off field. This passive is dog shit for Mahuiga off field. You can cast an elemental skill and do 1 charge attack. Sure, you can do 2 charge attack with charge dash thing. So you gain 4 stacks for 4 seconds. 4 seconds in a maybe 16 or 18 second duration rotation. That is nothing. So in total, this character will be able to get 7.5 multiplied by 4 and divided by 4 because the duration is 4 seconds in a 16 second duration. So at the end of the day, it's 7.5 damage percent and 7.5 crit damage. The 6 is better for off-field more than on-field. Sure. Alright, and this is the part in the quest where I think it could be better. If in here, it looks like burst, Goro likes skill.
7.
So imagine, instead of just meeting a very cold version of Zebai here, we caught a glimpse into her emotional state. This fragment is supposed to be, like in my revision, in rewrite of this fragment, the blue Zebai, I give it more personality. She's gonna be loving, caring, and also painful and haunted by the past. So she's gonna show the caring part of her in the interaction with Traveler and attempt to guide the Traveler. But a flicker in this space, which is the representation of her memory in the nothingness of this prison, showing the past where she had to evacuate every citizen in Langan. And seeing that, she's gonna break out in tears and tell the Traveler to follow the light while she walks backward, continue counting the prime numbers, trying to mask and forget about the past. I think that is a much more powerful trick, much more powerful introduction to Zebai, creates more intrigue and makes us care a little bit more.
11, 13, 17, 19, 23, 29.
Have I tried PvP and destroyed players and got humble real bad? I'll try that tomorrow when my friends are here.
You also enjoy counting in such a fashion, lost child? The same loneliness as them. It seems to exist in your heart.
Same loneliness. What loneliness?
The shadow of the moon? Or a dream of time?
This can flicker into the past.
I'm sorry. No one has asked me such things before. I know nothing of your arrival. All I know is the longing in people's hearts. Yet, I sense the moonlight's guidance within you, child. Perhaps you seem confused. Perhaps like the path home is... but you should take a look. No
Go together.
need. It would seem farewell. May the moonlight ever shine upon you.
Yeah, the loading screen is nice. It's tailored for each quest. And I think the other one is likely representing Dotoria.
Wow! Zhangwei actually did something neat.
Your complexion looks rather ashen, Traveler. Are you feeling...
Yeah, what's wrong? Huh?
I'm afraid we must...
Of course.
Traveler, Paimon, please.
Also, just for your future information, Kakashi, Iluga Constellation would not change his talent priority at all. So even if you get more Iluga Constellation, you can still just keep going with the burst talent. You don't need to level anything else. So Illaga wants burst and Goro wants skill for the buffing. That's it.
Huh? Guess someone's thinking of me.
Must be that consultant of yours. I bet he's out there.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going.
It is quite late.
Yeah, this is gonna be just a quick fest. So as soon as I'm done with this scene, we can end the stream. I've already done the quest before, and this is just my alt account where I click through the quest.
When the sun's out, bathe in sunlight.
What was that glitching?
Bathe in moonlight.
That glitching is very similar to the Dotori stuff. I wonder, is that somehow related? Generally, when Genshin uses a similar effects on screen, it's generally also similar. Xiangling used Red this abyss.
Wait, aren't we going to rest?
What is the current abyss again?
Because I imagine the traveler would like to know.
Oh, right. Ugh,
What is the current abyss again? I forgot.
she could have sworn you were there the whole time.
Is this the abyss with Durin's boss? If it's Durin's boss, then Xiangling use Red's gonna be increasing.
Sounds like her spirit formed an inexplicable connection with the being in that space.
No, it's not. It's this one. I would imagine Xiangling usage is not good, this abyss. This one, Xiangling usage, Red is good. But this one, it is not. If you have a link to that, let me know.
Ah, you suspected from the beginning, didn't you? Indeed, the being you met is the...
Wait,
No, she does not reside with...
Which website has that?
we never really...
Indeed, it...
Wait, but...
With the return of the true moon, the shadow naturally lost its place in the heavens.
Oh, wise helper,
It is
right?
disintegrating bit by bit. It's a process that comes and goes. When it occurs, it looks like the moon is being obscured by a black shadow. But when it stops, the shadow
Why is this website so big?
and
Can I
becomes
go smaller?
invisible to the eye.
Why is this website so huge? The
There's
hell?
an invisible fake moon blocking the real moon right now.
How do we make this smaller? .1 is this abyss and last abyss is 34%. It will make sense.
Indeed.
Okay.
Xiangling has so many different options these days, and many of the enemies don't even want Xiangling. Favor Xiangling.
My hypo...
Wait, is that because the White Horse Adeptus answers people's wishes? It
Characters.
must be true then. So,
Can I take a look at previous abyss?
the more wishes we make, the faster the fake moon will
2.2.
disintegrate, right?
Fair enough. Xiangling has fallen.
Before the White Horse Adeptus is free.
I wonder how Bennett's doing.
Quite the contrary. After countless years trapped
Bennett's
inside, the two
33.1.
have merged into one.
Used by Muhuika
When the
mostly.
moon shadow is gone,
Mostly
Zibai
just
will cease
Muhuika.
to exist in this world.
Oh no! So, by bringing the moon back, we actually
How do I look at previous?
Do not burden yourself with such thoughts. Because of your actions,
Where's Durin?
a promising opportunity has presented itself to us. Let us not forget, what is crumbling is also precisely that which imprisons her.
Can I go lower? So it was 81% for Durin and now it's 23%. Sure. And for Xiangling. Where's Xiangling? There's no Xiangling.
Yes, and that is why I invited you here.
And as well, she has 2%
Your
usage.
connection to that broken jade token confirms that you can do what I envision. However, while I had hoped to receive your assistance, this matter could have significant ramifications. I must admit a certain reluctance to implicate you in more of Tevat's secrets. Often, the deeper one's knowledge of such matters, the harder it becomes to extricate oneself from them. You are someone who once traveled through the boundless sea of stars. I cannot help but wonder.
All right. Here's something new, chat.
For your fate to become too entangled with the fate of any one world.
Tell a Fontaine or Natlan player that Chevres is not a good character. Oh, it's happening. It's happening.
Such is your conviction, then. Since journeying
Your very first bonus lands. Let's go.
The 3 deadly
There are a lot of characters that can use for bonus lands.
Because if we retreat.
So that means.
Yes, provided. Indeed, the essence that resides within her is a heavenly soul, also known as Tai Guang. Thus, this self is the closest to Zibai's true. That said, because she is trapped within the Shadow Moon, we have no choice.
He says that is true nature of Zibai, but that fragment is the one with the least personality. I am kind of disappointed that we don't get to see more of the blue fragment.
Indeed.
Ian San, let's see. I think Ian San still have a little bit more to go. As long as Mahuika is still being used, Ian San's gonna be
I imagine finding the Chow should
pretty okay.
Most troublesome.
My guess is Ian San is higher than Chevres, right? Yep, she is.
So, we need to find this
higher than Chevres.
right?
Chevres has a competition right now, and his name is Durin.
Hitting her should not prove difficult. In life, Zibai, it's possible she has possessed.
Also providing resistance shred.
Wait, what if? Exactly.
The A, B, and C doesn't matter. Just look at the percentage.
It's quite possible. A sound plan.
The divide between A, B, and C, and S, and whatever is very arbitrary.
You're leaving already?
Like, what's the difference between 37 and 33? Why is this a different tier?
The Archon War. If I am to have any success tracking her down.
What's the difference between 21 and 17? Why is this in a different tier? This is very arbitrary to me.
Like, who the White Horse Adept is actually is?
The difference between 73 and 68? Why the next one is 48?
Who it was that
What's the difference between this?
of her soul?
Should our endeavor prove...
Just look at the numbers and call it a day.
It was the avatar of Tai.
The ruler of...
Indeed. However, there is no telling what effect on the night of when that happened. For if we fail to retrieve, as I mentioned, let us hope that...
Alright, one part of the quest done. I'm gonna check the station. I am interested in that. Also keep in mind that all this data is not foolproof because this is self-submitted data. I wonder if the people who plays solo Risley C6 is still here for this station, or for this abyss rather. Where's the solo Risley? Hey, look at that. Nice. 90921. First side, eh? Fair enough. Yeah, first side is easier for Risley. Second side has the nod-krai specific enemy. So the resolution is 240p. I see. I can read the numbers to you if you're interested. Your heartbeat raised when you heard station. The usage rate. Never mind. Okay. Keyword mention. 20% of the Risley are C6. Yeah. So that was an example of how a self-submitted data can be biased. I believe there is a very dedicated group of Risley enjoyer who keep submitting this information every time, and it's both fun at the same time, and it's also skewing the data. Not 6.2% of the player base do this. There's a 6.2% of the people who enjoy submitting this data every time. Okay, this is data for station. Yeah, Novelet is here, so Farina is here. Makes sense. Farina is also more versatile and can be used with Varesa, I assume, so she's higher than Novelet. She can also be used with Skirk. Skirk is down here. Varesa is here. This is a shield character. These are some shield characters. This is a shield character. Ceylon is nice. Did not know Ceylon is that high. Probably for the grab, mostly. Aside from Novelet, Kazuha has Novelet, and Scophia is either for Novelet or for Skirk. Sucrose is likely with some Flames team. Mohuica, Brute Force. And other than that is kind of whatever. Below that, I don't think there's much interesting to the data. Visual is likely going with either Flames or Inefa. Doran is good for the Electro Shield guy, and it's also decent for Flames teams. Other than that, it's whatever. Yeah. Yep. I thought Razor would be higher than this. Low. Molani is down in hell. Ifa, sorry. Ifa is, I would say maybe a 1% is my guess. Oh, 0.4%. Okay. I would say Molani is probably 20%. Let me check. 12%. Not that many sweaty players. They see an easier option if they have it, and they clear for the easier option. Mona is pretty okay. Can be played with Molani and can be played with Skirk. The Alekino is... The amount of Alekino is nice. About expected for me. 18, 19, 199, 100. Yeah, basically the first. Never is delegated to just the first boss. Is this Die or is this Fearless? I'm actually not sure. Is this Die or Fearless? Details. This website presentation is so cooked for me for some reason. Oh well. Child at 10, you cannot see. Okay. Actually, that would be interesting data too. Child, I would say maybe... Oh my god, why is this website working now? That's nice. Okay, that's good. I would say Child is probably 5%. Let me see if I'm correct. What's Child? Oh, 10%. Okay. Okay, people were using this guy to great effect. For the grab, I assume.
Mathematics is the foundation of all things. If you're interested,
alright, chat. This is gonna be all for today. I've had my fill of all the lore stuff. Oh, a chest. Apparently we'll stop after this.
Without further ado, you should take it. It may prove useful.
How do I get up there? Alright. This day and age. I can use Moika. I can also use this.
Let's hit the town.
Whee! Alright, chat. Wow, there's another chest. Alright, chat. Here's the ending screen for you. Bye-bye now. Thanks for... I appreciate you for hanging around today and join in the lore discussion with me. I've had fun. Hope you have had fun too, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Team Spurs signing out. If you want to support the stream, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, watch my video, follow on Twitch. You can also... Oh boy, I got in a fight. XDD. Run! There we go. If you want to put a supported stream, you can do super chat as well as YouTube membership and Twitch subscribe. I'll see you, chat. Here's music for your pleasure. And that jazz low.